Okay, I think we're all set up now. Figuring out some of the finer kinks in life. Oh, yes. All right, we are jumping over into this. And we live. We're alive. Yeah. Felt like the longest weekend ever for some weird reason. All right, first up on the tab of today's things that I would like to watch, we have Riot just sold out. The industry will follow. Belluar News. I can never pronounce that word. Let's go with Belluar News. Yes. Let's see what this is about.
Gambling sponsors are now targeting predominantly young men through esports, and today Riot Games is basically about to make the whole thing much worse. But just so this is in context, this is the same industry that's linked to a 25% rise in US bankruptcy filings, so that's lovely, and young men in low-income regions.
Oh, so it's about all the gambling crap. Yeah, they have been posting that a lot in my chats and weird Bitcoin comments in my videos. I don't know what it's about. People and bots are weird. Just for all the dudes trying to advertise to me, I'm not interested. Quite literally, I don't care. I'm not interested in any of your advertisements or anything that you're providing. I'm not going to gamble. I'm not going to go to your website and artificially inflate my numbers. It's not going to do me any good. So stop posting. Go away. Go bother somebody else who's more gullible, because I am not.
Are the hardest hit population group. So with that in mind, now we get to talk about how the biggest name in esports has just opened the goddamn floodgates. In short, Riot Games is allowing betting sponsors into League of Legends and into Valorant. And by making this move, they give every other esports league justification to follow. Basically, these
This is what's going to create serious in gambling for players to throw games or to do something to create the betting odds in their favor. Because it's a weird thing. For example, there's NBA players and NFL players who've been caught betting on their own games. And the thing about that is why are they betting a few thousand when they're making millions just playing the game? What do they get? What's the point? Why would you bet risking your entire NBA or NFL career for a few $1,000s compared to the $1 million you get per game you play? It makes no sense. I don't understand the logic behind it. I make $250 million a year. Oh, cool. I'm gonna go and gamble on this. You are now suspended for the year. Oh, well, now I'm not getting anything. That was just a few $1,000s. Oh, logic.
Companies know exactly who they are reaching. Now they have a direct pipeline. Here's the change. Sports betting sponsorships are coming to pro teams in North America, Europe, and the Middle East. Now, Riot first considered this in December 2024, but now the president, John Needham, has published this lovely blog post. It outlines what's happening and why they're doing it, plus how they plan to minimize risk. Now, you might be wondering.
First of all, there's nothing they can do, because they don't have the same resources as like the NFL and NBA, who can literally trace back these moron players who bet on their own games and referees too, and expect that the teams are and these people doing it aren't going to do it. People are stupid. They make more than what they're betting on, but they still bet. It's so weird. I don't understand the attraction to drinking, the attraction to smoking, the attraction to gambling. I don't get it. I just don't. I don't see the attraction.
Why now? And their justification is fairly simple. They say the teams have been asking for gambling sponsors for years. Obviously, because...
Okay, gambling sponsors, I can get that, but man, I just don't understand the attraction to players who want to indict and destroy their own careers through illegal betting.
It's a lot of money, and audiences are already gambling. And here's the scale. League and Valorant generate 10.7 billion in gambling. But there is a problem, and that problem is that 70% of those bets are happening in unregulated bookies. And the unregulated part is what bothers Riot. Now, they say it's unsafe because people may lose money because these sites can be unscrupulous. And that absolutely is a risk. Of course, the other side is, people losing absolute humongous amounts of money via traditional gambling, working as intended. Here's the basic logic they're using. So, you know how teenagers will be tempted to drink alcohol? So you might think it's better to give them something light under...
My grandfather let me try my first beer when I was I think 13. And when I tried it, I spit that crap out. It was instant. It was not for me.
Supervision, rather than have them, drink Tesco value vodka in a field somewhere. But the question, right, is that by legitimizing it, by making it more normal, giving it way more exposure, will you reduce the average damage done per individual, but actually cause far more harm overall because you've just went and expanded the market to way more people by making it easier to access? And would that actually mean, ran over time, that you'd start to find more really, really bad problem gambling cases, because basically you're going to reach way more people, and that means way more people who could potentially fall into problem gambling. That's certainly my worry, but first, let's take a look at what this will actually look like in esports. A fun thing about this is Riot absolutely knows how this can be bad luck and all of the potential problems, so there is a degree of supervision from them in that they will personally vet every single sponsor. They also say they'll make sure that partnered betting services are using Riot-approved data, which will mean that nobody gets actively manipulated. But there is a bit more. Teams are going to have to self-regulate their partnerships, and Riot's going to demand that each team makes an internal integrity program. So that they can investigate themselves. As for what that's got to be, Riot says, a self-defined policy for selecting sponsorships. I don't know, it doesn't seem like the highest bar on the earth to me. Teams can be held to this, though, by Riot and by fans, so you can see why they want to do this. It's kind of like a PR incentive thing, and it's all designed to keep bad actors out of things. And of course, money is going to be trickled down, just like how many gambling policies work.
Again, if it worked, it wouldn't happen in the NFL and the NBA. But it just doesn't. These players are young kids, and you can bet your hard-earned money, the irony, your hard-earned money on the fact that they are going to place illegal bets and throw games just to win a few thousand compared to their $1 million contracts. That's what's going to happen, man. It's already going to happen because they just do it. It's the human condition for some people, and they just do not give a crap.
Riot say that they'll take a portion of the revenue, and they say they'll invest that in Tier 2 esports programs. So the implication basically, right, is that these sponsors will become preferred betting partners, and in theory, that's safer than unregulated bookies, and that basically money from all of this is going to go into the more grassroots side of esports. So really, dear gamer, all of this gambling is in fact good for you. Brackets, it's going to make all of us a shitload of money. But here's the thing, with how Riot are doing this, they are absolutely being cowardly, right? Because they've not fully committed to this. If Riot had have simply said, look, we want sport betting in our league as a part of the financial ecosystem, then they could have said that, maybe just like any other advertising thing. But
yeah, companies try to paint things in glossy, fancy words, and it'd just be nice if you're just direct and say, we just want more money, so we're taking on these types of sponsors. That's it. That's all they have to say. But this PC culture we're in, it's always pick and choose your words, try to make it glowed up, and it doesn't, the majority of us aren't that stupid. We can see right through you. But then again, we're not the target audience. I mean, let's be real. I don't watch esports. I don't pay attention to it. I don't know what goes on with it. I just know it's now a sports league, and that's it. That's all I know.
But instead, no. They are hedging their bets. You see, they still insist that gambling is bad, right? I mean, otherwise, why ensure that it's not officially connected? And even after vetting, well, just take a look at this. Riot-owned broadcast and social channels have got to stay betting free. That means no ads, it means no sponsored segments from betting partners, and it means no betting partner logos on team jerseys. So that's quite funny when you think about it. It is putting the pressure on everyone else. Official streams, absolutely no gambling, so who's going to get stuck with it? Well, I think the answer is fairly obvious, and we know that it's the team owners who really wanted this. So they're going to have to figure out where to put their contractually obligated sponsor content, and almost certainly that means pressure on players, or doing things like event co-streams. And those are actually not small numbers. As an example, co-casters of the 2024 Worlds made up 87.5 million hours, which is 45% of all event streams. So that's actually huge. Now, teams are going to have to walk quite the tightrope here. Basically, they've got to navigate platform policies and local laws, and as they do all of that, Riot will be raking in cash for permitting this. So the takeaway is quite a funny one. Riot Games thinks that betting ads are okay, but only if they're from chosen partners, and they don't think they're okay if they've got to advertise it themselves. Say, by a team having a logo on a jersey and that team going to an event that they broadcast. Just quite weird, and it does look rather cowardly, like they're kind of trying to have it both ways. And if it doesn't seem convincing to you, well, it doesn't seem convincing to me, and I don't think it should to either of us. It's no surprise that the public reaction here has been absolute skepticism at every level. So with it looking so strange, why do Riot and these teams think that this is the way forward? The answer is very simple. Guaranteed money. Who doesn't want some guaranteed money? Essentially, esports groups have not really had that much guaranteed money lately. The esports winter started ages ago, and it's still happening. We're seeing layoffs, we're seeing closures. Now, Saudi Arabian wealth has somewhat helped because, you know, they want to do some... I've forgotten the word of it, but it's kind of when you launder your reputation through sports. It's a very well-known thing. And obviously, Saudi money has got its own ethical concerns. So with all that floating around, basically, this is more consistent revenue from an industry that's desperate to expand and is desperate for consistent revenue. But of course, this is all happening in a way that benefits Riot, but does not benefit viewers. How many viewers would never have touched gambling before this? I don't know, but it's probably a lot, and what Riot have done is they've opened the door for that to happen, right? By normalizing it. And this doesn't even address some of the wider problems.
This brings into question just how dumb are the people that watch this stuff? Like, how easily do they fall into the void of, oh, they're showing this ad, I must go to this thing and do it. I must buy that thing. How often does that happen? Like, how easily do people fall into that? Because I'm curious. How quickly does their money burn a hole in their pocket? Because honestly, I would like to know what the research is on that.
Problems. Take a look at all of those gacha-based cosmetics that Riot rolls out, and I'm sure you've seen the headlines, right, of like $350 to get like the big event skin. Well, funnily enough, a lot of people would say that that's kind of like the same as gambling. I mean, sure, you can't cash out, but it's probability-based bullshit to get an item that you want. Well...
Weird. They make Jinx look a lot happier in the game, even though she's super crazy and depressed in her actual series.
Now they would be feeding that sort of audience, one that they're cultivating with all these gacha mechanics, directly into betting companies. You know, so I feel like if there's people who are going to be problematic with gacha and get themselves into bother, there's probably a lot of crossover with people who will get themselves into gambling bother. And financial trouble from gambling hits young men in low-income regions the hardest. It's rough stuff, right? And studies do suggest that, of course, that is the exact demographic that is also the most likely to bet on esports. The case you can make for this leading to a lot of problems is, I think, pretty compelling. I mean, it's targeting the same group that is proven to show more problem gambling behavior than other groups. And then, of course, there's the risk to athletes themselves. And this is something that's not commonly thought about. Now, of course, esports people, they'll face match-fixing allegations as, you know, in traditional sports. But now there's an entire new type of hostility for them. Because when somebody loses a bet on one of these sites, on the team that promoted that betting site, that anger can now go straight to the players. blame can go straight to the players. And that's not me speculating. This is the actual experience of athletes in physical sports. And it's one that's gotten far worse with micro-betting and app-based gambling that just, well, make it far easier to engage in all that shit. Here's a really fun quote. A December study by 4 of the biggest tennis federations in the world found that angry gamblers were responsible for nearly half of the 12,000 abusive social media posts directed at tennis players that year.
Again, the majority of the people that post that stuff, though, think they're safe online and that they can't get traced. That's what they think. They think they're safe. But fun fact, everyone, you're not. You're not. People can find you. It's not hard. Look at the H3H3 suit that's currently going on. He managed to get the approval of a judge to find all the information on all these Reddit moderators who literally were threatening his kids, threatening him, and mailing him things that were threatening. And he went straight after them. And 3 other content creators. But he can get that information from Reddit, from Twitter, from Discord. They don't want to deal with this crap, so yeah, they're gonna give it up. I mean, I just find it weird that people post nasty stuff like that. I post comments when I disagree with something, but I don't post, "You're an ugly fat cow, get out of here." Like, what? Why would you say that? Like, what's that doing for you over on the internet? Rather, it's just a disgusting trend. It shouldn't be allowed, yet people still do it because they think they're safe online and they can say whatever they want. Fun fact, you really can't.
So that's, not great. And all of this is before we talk about how gambling changes the culture. And of course, in this context, it's changing the culture around our games. And that, of course, can hurt how our games are made and designed. We can begin this whole game...
I think they've already been hurt. I mean, live service games and gacha games, I mean, they quite literally are already doing it. I don't think you can hurt it anymore. You've reached the peak hurt. The most you get is more regulation from European governments or the United States government.
Gambling thing with the very obvious black market of CSGO skins, right? So skin gambling is already fairly entrenched. But these companies, they crave something more. They crave legitimacy. And Riot Games just gave them that. You see, gambling groups and online casinos have tried to break into gaming for years and years and years. And we've seen this in many ways, like say...
Dude, gambling streamers are the cringiest stuff to watch. It's cringe. How can you watch that? They literally just sit there screaming at things. "Oh my god, I'm going to unlock this. It's unbelievable." And people are buying into this? That is some weird mentality you gotta have to believe that.
Say press sites getting flooded with sponsored post offers. I actually got loads of sponsored post offers from similarly sketchy shit that, of course, I declined because I don't want to promote gambling to people. But the whole point in all of this is about normalizing the advertising of gambling.
See, look at this streamer right here in that top left-hand corner and how fake his excitement is. It's straight up fake. But people go here to watch this, and you watch their comments through the stream with the chat, and they're just all happy. They're just like, "Oh my gosh, this is so great. Oh wow, this is awesome. Oh wow, I need to do that. Oh my gosh." It's like half of them I feel like are bots.
Right? Getting it in front of an audience who are familiar with the idea of playing odds. And we can take a look at this already happening. For one, the Escapist immediately began running ads after being sold. And those ads included best offshore casinos for US players and best online casinos in the US. Lovely stuff. Meanwhile, Aftermath covered the Adventure Games Forum sale. This is wild. 20 years of archives were purged, but do you know what was added? Gambling coverage with advertising. Lovely. So, it's not about the games, it's not about gaming culture, it's about getting gambling in front of more eyes, so it's normalized. That's one piece of the puzzle. Get more people to see gambling in the context of gaming. The next piece of the puzzle, well, that's to make it legitimate. To make it legitimate, to make it feel legitimate, you gotta get someone like Riot.
Look, there have been gambling groups trying to get certain types of gambling involved, like in Texas, pushed for decades and have failed at every turn. I mean, gambling's already very, very predicated in most games nowadays. Live service games with randomizers, gotchas, which are purely randomizers, and it's all RNG. Random numbers generator. That's all it is. It's something that's already here. So, I mean, what he's telling us is already existing even now. It can't get any worse other than legalizing it in places where it wasn't before.
Head on board. And that is exactly what Riot have been seemingly happy to do. Okay, I'll turn the focus back to Riot. Now, on this channel, we've extensively covered Riot's financial concerns, and because of all that, we do kind of know why they're approving this now. Teams, of course, need to survive the esports winter. That's very important for Riot. It's important to their whole business model, the culture around their game, the culture that drives all those skin sales. Now, of course, Riot gets a cut of that lovely guaranteed revenue, but they're not comfortable with this decision, or else they wouldn't have framed it as being a risky thing. They wouldn't have banned it from official streams. They also know the players won't like it. They're doing it anyway, and now the floodgates are very much...
The problem is Twitch. Twitch runs gambling ads over streamers. So what's to stop Twitch from running those ads over the streamers who aren't even contracted with them as partners? And if they're official streams, what are the chances that a gambling ad is going to play on it? I mean, I don't know how Riot's going to enforce that. Twitch is a totally separate entity.
Much opened, because every competitive esports scene, from the perspective of financial incentives, they all want these sponsors to get a green light. And if this is happening with Riot, right? If Riot can get comfortable and take the flak for being a bit of a first mover, then smaller groups will also move. And that means we are going to be looking at a very different industry in a few years. And frankly, it's an industry that is shown to be a true parasite. And it's one of those things, look, adults can spend money on whatever the hell they want. Sure, right, I absolutely get that. But I think there is a concept that you need to keep in mind whenever we're sort of making like libertarian rooted arguments. And that is the simple concept of an unpriced negative externality. The point essentially being that, say, gambling, right? That leads to a whole bunch of social problems. Those social problems then, guess what? Cause problems in the community. Now that can mean that the state has got to spend money because it furthers a whole bunch of bad outcomes. Obviously, there's problems within families, problems in the community.
It feels like sometimes when adults can't take care of themselves, the government does it for them. And that's sad.
Now that is something that we all pay a price for. Do you know who does not really pay a price for that? The gambling companies. It is an unpriced negative externality. So it's one of those things. Freedom to gamble, positive freedom, that's one thing. But what about freedom from all of the negative bullshit that stems from gambling, that gambling companies inflict upon us, but do not pay for themselves? What do you think about that?
I think it falls back to the same situation. Parents need to parent their kids. And then when those kids grow up, they are responsible for parenting themselves. And if they can't parent themselves, then that's their faults. It's a consequence of them not wanting to learn from what they did. I mean, I know there's some brain chemistry going on when it comes to addiction, and I know that can lead to addictive gambling and problems, but I just don't see the reason for more regulation with government, especially at the federal level, for this kind of stuff. It gets out of control, where the government's just got to let people be people and stop policing those people. but it depends, because there's just some people who don't do well, period. And they're not good at life, making poor decisions all the time. I'm not one to speak, because I've made some pretty crappy decisions. But you learn. Unfortunately, the ones I made were not major consequences that destroyed things. There's some people who have made poor gambling decisions, and their entire life is just uprooted and destroyed.
And I mean that in a genuine, open way. Do let me know in the comments. If you want another video, a nice spicy legal one, watch this next.
All right, that was video by Belluar News. Riot just sold out. The industry will follow. All right, time to move on to the next one. All right. We've got Tim Houthi versus Klein Fast Facts. It's done by Legal Mindset. It's a new attorney YouTuber that I came across. Well, he's a lawyer. I don't think he's an attorney yet, but he does videos, and he's been mainly covering the H3H3 lawsuit with Hassan Orbiters and someone named Frogy, don't know who that is. Someone named Denim, again, don't know who that is. And some other dude, I don't know what their name is. They're streamers I've never watched in my life, but they have been spreading slander and defamation about H3H3 Productions and the ones behind it with Ethan Klein and his wife. A bunch of Reddit moderators have been causing him problems as well. They're part of the suit, and he's going full semi-automatic with them. He's not holding back. This guy, he's tired. He's been involved in a suit too, like over a decade ago. He was sued for transformative content that he created with his wife when they were going over a guy who did skits, and they were just reviewing it, and then the guy saw that they did this, and he attempted to sue them. He attempted to get money from them, about $5,000, demanded it up front, otherwise he was going to sue them. They said no. The community was told about it. They raised money for H3H3 Productions. Thanks to that money that they raised, a year and a half later, the case got passed and H3H3 won. The judge found in favor of them, saying it was without a doubt transformative content and in no way violated any policies or law, as the judge said in the thing. So the guy lost. H3H3 Productions won. It was a huge case in terms of copyright, which set precedents for future takes, especially when it comes to transformative works. So to be clear, this is not the first suit he's been involved in, except this time he's the one doing the suing, because he's got the money, the means, and the will. Threaten a man's family, he's going to go after you, and that's what led to this. Honestly, he probably could have tolerated the lack of transformative content from Hassan and the other people, but man, the things those Reddit moderators did, and people on Twitter and on Discord, sending a skull to his family's home, wow. Just, these guys have no chill button. So, Ethan Klein of H3H3 is suing. Simple as that. And this Tim Houthi person that they're going to talk about is someone completely different. He's saying he wants to sue Ethan Klein for defamation.
Infamous
but
hot Houthi
no.
pirate dubbed
It won't work.
Timothy Chalamet is thinking about suing Ethan Klein. That's right, suing him for calling him a terrorist. We're going to get into
for a little reference, Tim Houthi doesn't even live in the United States. He lives way on the other side of the world.
that today on The Legal Mindset.
I can only imagine the cost that would be.
Judge. I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney, and this is a fast facts premiere, giving the quick and dirty version of the latest in legal news. And I do apologize. I've been a little bit absent. This is my birthday weekend, so I am quite enjoying it. But I'm glad to bring this one here because this is a hilarious one for you guys tonight. So some of you may or may not know who this guy is, who Tim Houthi is. Of course, that's slang for this guy.
Yeah, it's the guy in the top corner right here. This dude.
This guy,
He's apparently a Hassan orbiter. You got like his 5-10 minutes of fame with Hassan. And the weird thing is he's apparently wants to sue H3 Ethan Klein Ethan Klein said he called him a terrorist. And he says he wants to sue because he thinks that's defamation. But some of the things this guy has said and done, especially along the lines of Hassan down here, has been pretty terroristy. I mean, it's one thing to say things, but, you know, to act on them is a different story. I wouldn't say he's acted, but he's definitely been involved in some shady stuff from what I understand.
goes online by the name Rashid Al-Haddad, aka Timothy Chalamet, for his resemblance, obviously, to Timothy Chalamet from the movie Dune. And he became famous for really getting circulated in social media as the quote-unquote hot Houthi pirate, and for being brought on stream with one Hassan Piker, which had almost no ramifications at all from Twitch. And this was quite a controversy and kind of blew him up on social media, gave him kind of a micro influencer status. Well, of course, as with all people, your 15 seconds of, you know, whether it's fame or shame runs out eventually. At some point, that moment goes away. And his moment was, well, the moment when he was caught on the boat, and he was there, you know, getting a picture on the boat, and that was his moment of fame, and also going on with Hassan. So now he's attempting to kick up a lawsuit. So here he goes here. Rashid Al-Haddad says, "Why did Ethan Klein say that I am a terrorist even though I am not? I am a Yemeni citizen. By the way, weapons in Yemen are just like phones. Anyone can own them. I want to file a lawsuit against Ethan Klein." So we're going to examine this. Does he have a case? Does he not have a case? Especially in U.S. courts, because I'm going to...
To be clear, in the US, you can sue for pretty much anything. It just comes down to how many times you filed suits. There was an incident on YouTube a few years back with this guy randomly filing suits against numerous people, all fraudulent, all fake, in numerous different states. He even got banned from being able to file suits in one state because he did it so much. And he just does it. Anyone who spoke bad about it, he immediately would file against them. And then it would be up to the judge if they were going to throw it out or not. And every single time he got thrown out. And then he went after one person who actually had the means to fight back and did. And it cost him. I mean, the United States, if you have the money, you can pretty much do just about anything as long as it's legal.
Assuming here that he'd be suing Ethan Klein in a U.S. court. Now, we're going to talk about Yemen as well at the end. Of course, I'm not a Yemeni lawyer, but I can tell you exactly about the enforceability of Yemeni law in the United States. Spoiler alert, not good. So we're going to get...
I mean, there's literally, if it's Yemen, where the Houthis are, then it's definitely not something the U.S. says, because they have you sign these pieces of paper when you go to these specific Middle Eastern countries. When you travel there, it literally says, if you get kidnapped or go outside the safety zones of where we tell you to go, the United States is not responsible for anything that may or may not happen to you. That's how crazy it is. And there's people that will take that risk.
Get into it with the analysis. So the first thing you're going to look at is what would be suing for? Well, defamation. And a lot of people on the internet do call other people a terrorist. Now, that is not a word in and of itself per se, that is automatically defamatory. It's not one of those words where it would...
Defamation is... I'm no lawyer, but after all the cases and videos I've seen, there's a pretty clear definition of it. You can even Google it, it'll tell you. But it's literally you defaming somebody in a spotlight over and over and calling them something that they're not. And this has caused financial damage to them or harmed them in some financial way as a result. And I don't think Ethan Klein calling him a terrorist has done that. So he probably doesn't have much of a case.
would necessarily yet 100% say this is going to go into the camp of defamation. There are certain words that you can say or call people that are more defamatory than others. And there's certain words you can call people that are really not defamatory. If you call people, certain derogatory terms that are just vulgar and they're purely vulgar, but not criminal, they tend to not.
Like, here's a clear definition of defamation. If you hired someone for a service, they performed that service for you, and after that service was performed, they left the home, and then the customer proceeded to post tons of bad reviews about the service that that person provided on numerous websites, defaming the business and the people that worked over and over and over, but it was a lie. That's defamation. Like, that's defamatory. That's slander. That's something that you can get sued for.
Not be defamatory. However, if you're calling someone a criminal, and a terrorist is typically a criminal, that is something that leans on the side of defamatory. So that's what I look at with the analysis of, is a statement defamatory or not? Is it implicating someone as a criminal? When it does, it tends to be more defamatory than not. So that's where that statement generally lands. And there's a lot of people on the internet that are called this day to day. Now, why is this difficult? Well, the standard under New York Times versus Sullivan is malicious, because this guy is undoubtedly a public figure. He puts himself out there on social media. He's very active on social media. He went on a top streamers, stream. So he is a public figure. He's not a private person. So he would be examined under New York Times versus Sullivan standard. So there would need to be malice. So what he says would need to be maliciously untrue. The fact of the matter is, based on photos like these photos, where we see Tim Houthi here posing, or Mr. Rashid, posting with the stolen ship. This is a hijacked ship, a confirmed hijacked ship. He actually goes closer to the ship in another video, but you can see it here. He's also posing in what looks like military attire with an AK over here. So looking at this, it gives you a reasonable belief. Looking at this, a reasonable person, a regular person, a normie, a total normie who knows nothing about this, says, wow, this guy could be a terrorist. I'm not sure. I would need more information. And your duty under a duty of malice is not to have all the information, but just based on the information out there, the information you can look at, the information you can find that's readily available, right? You're going to look at that information. Is it malicious to say this guy could be a terrorist? It's possible he could be a terrorist. I think a reasonable person could say that. However, it is possible that he is not legally defined as a terrorist, i.e. he is not personally a member of a group that is.
If you're a member of a terrorist cell, you're most likely on the FBI's radar. And they're looking to either catch you or take you out. That's the usual go-to. If the FBI has you as part of a terrorist cell, then definitely. But I doubt this guy's part of one. It's probably more of a him portraying an act rather than actually doing it.
Is deemed a terrorist, right? He's probably trying to make that argument. He's probably going to say, I'm Yemeni and Klein is criticizing me for Yemeni. Okay, maybe that might even be a fair argument. I'll even entertain that fact, right? Give him a benefit of the doubt for a second. But guess what? He would still lose at a case in the United States because the legal standard is higher. So with the U.S. Legal standard here, the likely result would be a case to be dismissed, right? So the U.S. claim would likely be dismissed either at motion to dismiss or at summary judgment.
And keep in mind, when you're suing for a certain amount of money, it differs from state to state. You can sue in any state, but keep in mind that each state has its own limits on how much you can sue someone for, like how much money, and that's how much they'll get back. It's different in every state. Like with the case with Amber Heard versus Johnny Depp, and in the state that he sued her in, he did it for $10 million, but the state maximized the damages to $250,000 on certain things. So yeah, you won't always get the full amount. It's the amount that you're saying is just to draw attention, and whatever's negotiated, if it's settled or if it's ruled in your favor, is determined by the judge.
he would likely, if he brought the case and even had the money to bring the case, they would outright dismiss it, or it would get the summary judgment that say, look, you don't meet the bar you don't meet the level of malice. You really can't prove that Ethan Klein is being malicious and he's lying completely about this. You'd have to put more proof out there that you are definitively not a member of a terrorist group, because at this point, what it seems like is he is grifting off his grift. The quote unquote hot Houthi pirate is grifting off being a sexy terrorist and trying to make terrorism sexy. And if that is what he is marketing himself as, then people would not be mistaken to take himself as a terrorist. So if he's marketing himself as a terrorist, as, you know, the kind of bad boy terrorist, the hot bad boy terrorist, the rebel who's fighting back, well, if people interpret you as you market yourself, that's not malicious. Now, it may be all a game. It may be all LARPing. In fact, I think it is. I mean, this individual looks kind of soft. I think there's a reason to believe that he's not actually a terrorist. He's not actually like a hardened guy. You know, he's out there watching One Piece. You know, he's probably like some, you know, Yemeni weeb, whatever, right? Who just wants to cosplay as a terrorist, right? That would be a reasonable alternative explanation. But guess what? You've marketed yourself as that. You put yourself out as that. So it's hard to put that back in the box. Now, the one thing that could happen, and this is going over to Yemen, is he could get an unenforceable Yemeni judgment or a local tribal court ruling. So in Yemen, there's, you know, as in many countries, it's very, very common, right? There's often customary law, what's called customary law of dispute resolution, meaning the centralized legal system is weak. And that exists in many countries all over the world. Therefore, the customs that are applicable, the local customs, the local ways of life, they can be types of rulings. But getting some local tribal ruling in Yemen is not going to be enforceable in a U.S. court. They're going to laugh at that and toss it out. It's just not going to work. So
it's like when the U.S. does something to Iran, and then Iran puffs out his chest saying the retaliation will be swift and fierce. Or Russia, and they're like, our retaliation will be swift and fierce. Fear our nukes. It's like that. You're puffing out your chest and saying, we will enforce this if you don't listen to us. That's how this always works.
Much as he might have that piece of paper at some point from some Yemeni, you know, local tribal yokel, that's not going to work in the United States.
Ooh, called him a yokel? I mean, I don't know. That sounds defamatory. A whole group of people, man. What are you saying?
Or any big boy country with real legal systems. So that said, likely a social media stunt for attention due to lawsuits trending. What he sees right now and what this guy is trying to do is he's trying to hijack the headlines. Right now, lawsuits are hot. The Klein lawsuit is big, and he wants to clout jack.
It's big because if Ethan decides not to settle and to take each one of them, every single one of them, to court and get a judgment, a summary judgment, then he'll set a precedence. And this has been set before, 10 years ago with the transformative content a judge did with H3H3 Productions. So it can happen again here. There's no doubt.
Back off of that, get back in the algorithm, get trending again, and get attention for his particular causes. And you know what? I understand it. I can't even blame people for trying to hijack the algo. However, I can blame them for making up nonsense lawsuits. And this is absolutely a nonsense lawsuit that would go absolutely nowhere. Let me know what you guys think of Timothée Chalamet versus Klein in the comments below, and I will catch you on the next one.
Are you guys enjoying the stream today?
Ooh! And you got hit in the ear, dude. I'm surprised his eardrum didn't burst. But yeah, this is a Somali kid, whatever. He's currently stuck in South Korea. He got banned from Japan, and I think he got banned from another country too. He's what we call a nuisance streamer. This guy has a bad history of going to different countries and saying rude and cruel things to the people, vandalizing property, being a general nuisance of a human being, and giving a bad example of good tourists. Because trust me, he's like, it's a 1%. It's less than a 1%. It's like 0.00001%. You get streamers that do this kind of crap, but they do anything for the views. He has been so cocky to the South Korean government, saying they're not going to do anything to him. And I'm curious, darn curious, what his situation is. Because I think South Korea is just trying to drain his funds until he has no choice but to admit that he was a nuisance. He's going to get banned from South Korea. There's no question. And he won't be able to travel there. And chances are he may end up getting a permanent travel ban within the U.S. where he can no longer leave. Which means if he wants to go be a nuisance to people around the U.S., well, unlike the countries he's been in, like Mike Tyson said, you're getting too used to not being punched in the face. I know he said it more subtly and different, but it's such a simple saying. Nuisance streamers. And punched in the eardrum, man, that's it's like you get clubbed in the face and the nose and the chin, but your face will go numb. But when you get hit in the eardrum, you feel that. That just like that can knock off your balance and everything. All right, we are coming to the Stop Killing Games initiative. This has been an ongoing thing with this man, Adam Ross, I believe is his name, as well as the fact this is his channel, Cursed Farms. And right now, the Stop Killing Games initiative has gotten all the signatures it can. It's already entered its final phase and is going to be reviewed. So we've done everything we can. Well, unless you're only if you're a European citizen. The most we can do is put our Americans and Canadians and other people can do is put their visuals out there and get people to hear it. And this guy's been doing it for 6 years. Crazy.
Hey, this video is a bit awkward since a little over a month ago, I made one called The End of Stop Killing Games. And this is a wrap-up to Stop Killing Games. In my defense, when I made that, I really did think that was close to the end for what Stop Killing Games could influence. But since we didn't accomplish everything, I wanted to go down swinging. Well, through dumb luck, that video swung so hard it changed the timeline. So now I should probably do a different one. Just to let people know up front, this video isn't that important. It's gonna go over various things, but nothing earth-shattering. Yeah, in fact, let's get the important stuff out of the way. It's only a few things. If you're in the EU, you can still contact members of European Parliament to support the Stop Destroying Video Games initiative. And you, and people from several other European countries, can add a comment to the Digital Fairness Act, asking politely if they can add protections from publishers destroying video games you've already paid for.
The way he said that, politely. Politely, gamers. Gamers aren't known for their rhetoric as being polite. So be polite, everyone. Speak in gentle terms. Don't be overly aggressive. Just send a nice little message, very calmly, and just tell them, hey, listen, you need to not do this, okay? All right.
And I guess if you're in the UK, you can still contact members of Parliament to support the government petition to stop destroying games there. Though I won't lie, the UK situation is a lot iffier. Finally, this one's a shot in the dark, but I've been advised if anyone has connections to the EU Commission, specifically mid-level admin workers, that could be very helpful. You can contact me or the official spokesperson. His contact info is on the initiative page. Okay, that's it. Nothing else I'm gonna say here really matters much, so if you want to stop watching, that's fine. I guess first off, thanks to everyone who's assisted with the Stop Killing Games campaign, or is still helping. It's involved literally millions of people at this point. On one hand, I'm really glad we got the help we needed. On the other, I still can't shake the feeling of how stupid this all is. Not people helping, but that we have to fight for any of this to begin with.
You're dealing with humans, and stupid just comes with the territory. If there's a way to do it, they'll be stupid. I mean, come on. Look at our federal government here in the USA and how dumb it's run. I mean, literally, congressmen and senators who serve lifetime appointments are still in office and still getting reelected because they either live in an area where they can get reelected easily because they're the only one on the ballot, or people just don't care enough to pay attention or want to do anything about it. I mean, it's it's a bad situation, and it continues the same rhetoric over and over and over. So it's stupid because this is just how it is. You think common sense would apply, but it just does not. As long as there's money, common sense will never exist.
The issue of not destroying games that people have already paid for in a business bigger than the film and music industry combined, when the whole thing is entirely preventable, has always struck me as crazy. I still view this like fighting for the right to have plumbing in your home, or to demand that bread you buy shouldn't be filled with sawdust. And no, not just a label telling you that your bread contains sawdust. There is such a thing as minimum.
There was a dude on YouTube who was running experiments testing sawdust flavors just to see how it was like in bread. I have no idea how dangerous that is, but he did it. He wanted to see if he could get the taste of a tree into bread. So he tried different methods like sawdust, different types of sawdust crunched, mixing it. Then he tried taking water, adding it to wood, letting it soak for 24, 48, 72 hours, and then adding it into a bread mixture. I mean, it's funny, but hey, people do what they do for views.
Minimum standards for many products. So this entire movement has never been a calling for me, and still isn't. It's more like this particular practice has annoyed me way more than the average person, and I just want it to go away so I can spend my time on things I'd rather be doing. However, through dumb luck, I've been in a unique position to attempt to end this practice, and I knew I would feel like a giant hypocrite if I didn't give it my best shot. So I guess first, why don't we go over what that shot has looked like and how effective it's been? Let's pull up the old battle plans again. Okay, so here are the original plans, but new options opened up along the way. So here's the updated version. And rather than go over everything, I made a key showing the state of each attempt. I'm rating this by 2 metrics.
Ew, it's loading.
Did we accomplish what we set out to do, and how effective was that? Well, on the first metric, we've actually done amazing. We have maximized our chances to push back against the issue of games being destroyed.
I mean, like 1.5 million signatures. That's a threshold.
On almost every front. That's incredible. I wouldn't have predicted we would.
Holy crap. Am I seeing this right? Contact the ACCC. Are you telling me Australia is part of the EU? Hang on a sec. I must Google. That is knowledge I was not aware of. Okay, so maybe it's just a connection politically.
Would have gotten this far. In
That's
fact,
interesting.
I'd say the only place we outright failed to launch was Brazil. It was looking promising, but we ran into a wall where the law firm needed more data on how many copies of The Crew were sold in Brazil, and we just weren't able to find it. So, bummer about that, but I think it wasn't the most pivotal country in this either. I think France, Germany, Australia, and the EU as a whole are the heavyweights in this. As long as we get a major market prohibiting game destruction, I think we'll largely win this globally. But what about the second metric, how effective this all was? Well, some were outright failures, some of which were kind of expected, but by and large, we still don't know. All the consumer agencies are...
The FTC is controlled by companies. It literally does not do the job it's supposed to. They do whatever benefits them and gets them the most money in the pockets of the ones running the FTC. The FTC is pointless. It serves no purpose other than to line its own pockets.
still investigating this. The Digital Fairness Act is still accepting comments. Hell, even for the European Citizens Initiative, we still don't know if we actually got enough valid signatures. Though I think we probably did. So as you can see, a whole lot of the campaign now involves waiting. And government does not move quickly. But seriously, I think we've done about as well as is humanly possible given the landscape. Especially considering that I'm just a friggin' YouTuber. I think all this stuff we've launched are our best shots. I don't see lots of new stuff on the horizon later. I think we either win on at least one of these, or if they all fail, then it's over. Besides the Digital Fairness Act, the only big one I think I still have any influence over is the European Citizens Initiative. However, since the signing period is over, we're entering a phase where things like counter-lobbying and political connections are most important.
This man has already been a victim of the lobbyists. Someone, anonymous of course, posted claiming he was being paid by the initiative to do all this advertising that he's been doing. But that's not the case at all. He's been volunteer hours of his own time doing it. But it was a whole cluster of just pointless dribble and an anonymous tip where they're saying he's getting paid, he's making all this money, he's a consultant, he's getting money paid on a contract. I mean, none of which was true. And I'm surprised it got as much traction as it did.
And frankly, that is not my department. I know nothing about that. Though some political insiders do, and they're advising the official organizers. I'm not even aware of all their plans, but even if I was, I probably wouldn't say what they're up to. Ever since the industry took a shot at us with fabricated claims, I've been acting a little bit like I've been Mirandized.
Yeah.
So on some parts of this, I may be
A martyr.
very quiet, since I know someone is trying to use that against us. If the insiders have requests from me, I'll probably follow them. But this is turning into a game I'm not qualified to play. I am qualified to encourage people to sign a form. That's more within my skill set. I don't have a timetable on the initiative since some of it is out of our control, but it's going to be months down the line before there's a hearing. I probably will be assisting the organizers with notes and talking points for when they go to the EU Commission. Assuming they do. I mean, we're probably safe with the signatures, but if we don't have 1 million valid ones, none of this part matters anyway. That's why we have alternate plans of attack just in case others fail. So that's where my mind is at, but if I confuse people, here, I made a chart of Ross vision on how I see the campaign right now. That should hopefully clear it up. Now some have asked, hey, since you're winding down your end of things on the campaign, can you pass the torch on this or let the community take over? Yeah, sure. You don't even have to wait on me, really. I actually have someone in mind who might be great to lead or help lead things in the future. It's the same person who helped organize things to contact TV stations and was talking about a possible watchdog group if the initiative did pass. So he's had good ideas. As for the community, I'm afraid I don't have a solid plan for that as of yet, other than it's being sorted out. A lot of people are helping with that. Yeah, in fact, I'm not even in direct control of the website, so it may be outdated for a few days while the person who does maintain it is working on it. Now, I am pessimistic on how much we can do beyond the action we've already put into play, but I'm of course in favor of people continuing Stop Killing Games related things if they want. Speaking of related things, I've received a lot of questions about the current Steam and itch censorship going on right now. I am not an expert on that, but I can talk about how it relates to us. I have some good news and some bad news, and I think some more good news. The good news is if a storefront removed your game and gave you no ability to back it up and continue running it without further support, then that is exactly the situation Stop Killing Games is trying to address. We've been mostly focused on games that have the online dependency built into the game, but if a store gave you no notice before removing your game, then yeah, it's the same problem, just a different flavor. The game you paid for was taken from you. Now, stores could still remove access to games you paid for, but they would have to give you 30 days notice or something, and the ability to back it up and keep running the game before something like that would be okay. So while we can't address this situation now, because again, government moves really slowly, what we're doing could partially protect against situations like this in the future. Now, the bad news is Stop Killing Games would do nothing to prevent companies from delisting games. That's because to solve that, you'd have to create law mandating stores keep selling games. That seems unreasonable and unrealistic.
To be clear, companies that stop running those games that require an online connection are essentially saying there's no more money left to be made in this. It's time to move on, and that's what they're doing. What we're asking for is for them to give us the access to it to download the files and then boot it up on our own servers and run it. Now, there have been other game designs that have done this, like Ragnarok Online has done this for decades. RuneScape has done this for decades. WoW, before the whole takedown with Blizzard going after all the private servers, we're doing it with Classic WoW for years. It goes on, but these companies don't like others making money off their product. They don't like that because those private servers, some do charge some things to get access to some things, but they chose to back out of it and say, we don't want to support this anymore. So you're not going to make any money off it. Neither are we. We're going to destroy it and get rid of it. This is where the nuance issue comes in. Should gamers be allowed to keep those games that they or if they directly or indirectly paid for in some form or fashion, and be allowed to keep playing it on a private server? That's the situation. Can they be allowed to do that? And whether or not the business doesn't like you making money off that private server. Well, you chose to stop supporting the game. I'm a firm believer that they should just let those private servers be and do what they want. Let them make money off it. You gave up the game. You don't want to run it anymore. Let it go. It's not your responsibility. You hold no investment and no legality in this game now. It's the private server. They took on the risk. That's on them. And they are solely responsible. Simple as that. That's what they're doing. That's what they need to do. Just back off and let it happen. Ragnarok Online's done it. WoW's done it. And of course, you've got RuneScape, oldie, and there's even old servers for Neverwinter, which have been running for a long time. From Neverwinter Nights and Neverwinter Nights 2. There's the Trinity one from Neverwinter Nights 2, and then there's the Baldur's Gate Legends of the Sword Coast, I believe it was called, servers that are running online. Like, these things exist, and they're still running. I mean, and those developers haven't tried to get those taken down other than WoW. So the game developers and the publishers just need to give up and stop doing this. They're so obsessed with destroying it and then moving on to the next thing. I mean, imagine you paying $80 for a game and then $40 for multiple DLCs, only for 2 or 3 years later, down the line, they get rid of the game and you no longer can play it. You're like, what the hell? I paid for this. I invested hundreds of dollars and you're telling me I can't play it anymore? They're like, yep, we're taking it down. And even Steam said in their terms of service and in a message that people are going to have to start getting used to, you don't own the games. You're paying for a license. It's disgusting. It's a disgusting thing. Because they want to destroy the game to force you to move on to the new one that they make. So you keep paying them more money. I get it. They have to make money in order to, make more money and keep on functioning. But the problem with these companies is that they put up these lofty goals with each game that they make, expecting to make bank, and don't have realistic outlooks. They don't. And then their investors all come back like, what happened here? What happened to all this money? And then they just blow it up and say, oh, well, this didn't go well. And then they shut down a developer and saying it's their fault when a publisher was the one who pushed all that crap on them. Like, here's a good example. From Software has been using Bandai Namco as a publisher for them in the space for video games for years. 4 years. Over a decade of games released with Bandai Namco. But Bandai has taken no direct input on From Software and stayed out of the way, letting From Software make the games that they want to make and produce and release. And that's worked out well for Bandai Namco because the success of Elden Ring was the magnum opus that just opened the floodgates for From Software. And Bandai Namco realizes, all right, this is a golden egg. We're not going to interfere with From Software's development. Let them make the game, and it'll work out. It'll always work out because you're trusting the developer and not sticking your nose into it because you're going to get your money back. That's how you should be doing it. Like, for crying out loud, the size of the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC was nuts, and it only cost $40. $40 for a whole other game. It's things like that these developers don't get, and we're starting to move away from live service games. There has been an influx since 2023 of single-player games. That's where it's going again. Because live service games are dog piles of crap. They're just not worth playing. They're not. And there's people that'll tell me otherwise. Oh, Fortnite's so great, and I love League of Legends, and I enjoy this other stuff that I'm playing online. I'm like, dude, you're paying more and more money just to maintain a service over and over and over. It's just annoying. Battle Pass. Buy the Battle Pass. I mean, Battlefront 2 was a giant, major cash grab for EA. Ooh, that was a fun time. That blowback was crazy. That went on for 2 years. What saved Battlefront 2, though, was when they included the Jedis and the dark side users, and you could have actual saber duels. That saved that game.
We're also not addressing Visa, MasterCard, and PayPal's grip on entire world commerce, because that sounds like a way, way bigger scope than anything I could ever deal with. One of the reasons Stop Killing Games has made it so far is because there are gaps in the law on the issue of game destruction. We're shining a flashlight on a practice that may already be illegal. I can't even imagine where you would start with trying to rein in payment processors. That said, this censorship problem has gotten a lot of attention. So hopefully smarter and more experienced people than myself know how to push back again.
Payment processors, whew, they have been around before I was even born. I mean, they've been in the market since the early 90s and steadily just expanded and gotten bigger and bigger. American Express, Visa, MasterCard, PayPal was like 2000s. And so on from there. Venmo, Patreon, man, there's a few out there. Oh, Cash App. Cash App's one. Bitcoin. I mean, these payment processors, they exist. They've existed for a while. Visa, MasterCard are definitely the monopoly ones. But to tackle that issue, there's a lot of areas to attack that from.
Against this. But even if they don't, I think this is a problem that will solve itself over time. That's because both players and publishers want to buy and sell the games that are being censored. So that means there's real market pressure to find a solution.
Oh, well, the solution's pretty easy. Look at the existing policies in place for Visa and MasterCard. See what they have in there contractually. Because I'm telling you right now, Visa and MasterCard were not aware Steam had those games on there with all that incest, the child exploitation, and other sexual exploitation that was on there. They did not know. It was only because that group pointed a light at them that then Visa and MasterCard were like, whoa, no, we don't want, Steam, you got to take those down. And another was another website. It was an IO website. They had to take down 100+ games. Like, it's for me, I think it's because Visa and MasterCard are so integral around the world for payment processing. They cannot monitor and spy on every single place that has a contract signed with them that uses their service. So they don't know every single thing on every single website that they're available on that's being paid out or being paid for that has stuff on there. So They probably were pointed at Steam, and that's how it happened.
In fact, I bet there's a startup frantically trying to fill the gap that credit card companies are leaving them right now because there's so much money being left on the table for them. If you bet on companies wanting to make lots of money, you're rarely disappointed. I also think this situation points out.
Yep, Bandai Namco. When Elden Ring had this huge success that it did, they announced future IPs for it. And now we got Elden Ring Night Rain. And that's actually a really good game. It's a live service game, mind you, because From Software wanted to dip their toes in that. But it's not bad. It's not a bad live service game. It really isn't. It's pretty good. I mean, if your live service is good, like Helldivers 2, yeah, you can have a lot of success. Oh, and Marvel Rivals. That's another. Like, good live services. Good. That understand the community and don't go full AWOL with crap. Because the one thing that makes a live service great is day one releases being excellent. That's what really gets the motor going for everybody.
How hollow the alternative solutions you sometimes see suggested are. Like clear.
Like, let me give you a good example of live services out there. Helldivers 2 has no PvP. It focuses on team fighting against AIs, and those AIs are enemies in the game. And you control your team if you want to, because there's friendly fire. It's funny because it's just hilarious what you can do in that game. And then there's Elden Ring Night Rain, which is a co-op game. No friendly fire, mind you. But it is a co-op game specifically designed for you to play online with friends in groups. You can run solo. It's not recommended, but they focus heavily on that, and they remove the element from Dark Souls, from all the Souls games that they usually have with invaders. So there's no PvP with confrontation with people fighting each other. And then you've got Marvel Rivals, which is the replacement for Overwatch. It literally took Overwatch's mantle and is the new one. And Marvel Rivals, Disney dipped into this market, and they're actually listening to their fans about what they want to see. And, well, what they want to see is interesting. It's definitely a guy's game, but the point is they are listening, and they're actually producing content that the people want to see. See, most companies, developers especially, some don't listen to their fan bases. They don't. There's two things that can destroy a publisher's trust and developer's trust with their fan base. One is if you don't listen, and two is if you drift away from what made you great. So, for example, From Software doesn't listen to its community when they ask for certain things. And sometimes they'll give you certain things, but they usually remotely don't listen. But what they do well is they stick to what they're good at, and they don't stop doing it. Larian's another good example. They strictly stayed to their turn-based type of games, developed Baldur's Gate 3, and it was a humongous success. And they stick to what they're good at. And the other thing that they did well is what made the game so successful was for how long it was in alpha and beta, and they were taking suggestions from fans about how to do certain things that they would like to see in the game. And they listened to nearly every single suggestion. Every single one. When you think about that level of success that these two have had, of one From Software sticking to their niche, which is Souls-like hard games, not backing off it, winning two Game of the Year awards, one with Sekiro and one with Elden Ring, and then you got Larian Studios, who did something historic at the five major gaming awards. They took away Game of the Year at every single one. All five. For Baldur's Gate 3. That's how big that game was. Because it listened to the fan base about what they wanted. Companies that are failing need to stop being investor listened to oriented companies. All they're doing is listening to investors and what they want, and they're so tone deaf. They don't know what they're making. And another thing is hire writers who understand what it is that they're making. Look at what Elden Ring did. Here's a great example. From Software, Miyazaki had run out of content. They didn't know what they wanted to do, but they know they wanted to do something. So they hired George R.R. Martin to write lore for them. He wrote an entire new world, which was Elden Ring. Every character, every concept, everything. And what does Miyazaki do best when he's got new lore? Destroys it. Just destroys it. And that's a Souls game. A dark reality hard game where the whole world's been destroyed. And that's what they do. They do so well. Like, if you're running out of ideas, go to someone who makes those ideas. An actual writer who knows content of fantasy worlds. But other developers and stuff don't do this. They hire writers who are PC correct, who are literally politically on the wrong side of the fence, and don't have a clue about the source material that they're writing about. You've seen it with like the MCU movies, for example. They don't know what they're writing about because they've never read a Spider-Man comic, know anything about the character, or anything about the universe. They're just a hired writer who comes in, writes something, and they go with it. So many things have failed, like Witcher. Witcher's a prime example. It failed because of the writers. It literally did. When you have an entire source lore for a series, Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, Witcher, freaking George R.R. Martin's Game of Thrones, and the writers just drift away from the source material to take liberties on so many things. Here's another example. Halo. They did Master Chief in a series, and they rewrote his character to be just terrible. Terrible. This is the issue. You have all the source material in the world in front of you, writers. If you're giving it to you up front, just utilize it. Don't come in and try to write something different from what the original and what made it so good for the fans. If your goal is a cash grab, you're not going to get anything. You're just going to bomb.
Or labeling, or voting with your wallet. In both cases, those do not save the games you want to keep. It's the same for censor games also. Voting with your wallet only helps if the game is allowed to exist in the first place. So Stop Killing Games would only help with part of this censorship situation in the future, but it's certainly compatible with people trying to do more. Okay, speaking of the future, I think what we've done with Stop Killing Games has actually changed the timeline, or is attempting to. As someone who's been at ground zero...
Ever since Stop Killing Games gained momentum, because here was the situation. Pirate Software decided to watch Adam Ross's video. He watched it, and upon watching it, he gave his take. His take was completely wrong, and because he didn't back down from his take, knowing he interpreted what Adam was talking about wrong, and it was even recognized by numerous streamers, numerous YouTubers, numerous politicians as well, lawyers, telling them he interpreted it wrong. Pirate Software, being the antagonist to this whole story, brought it down on himself to become the reason why it succeeded, because of his terrible take on Stop Killing Games. From then on, Stop Killing Games has taken on a different level. It has entered tons of space. Lobbyists are fighting against it. People are making lies about Adam Ross with anonymous reports saying he's making money from this, which he's not. There have been videos from politicians saying this was not going to work. Companies telling you this isn't going to work. Even the best part is the lobbyist group that represents the companies that are fighting against Stop Killing Games do not agree with the lobbyists who are stating the items that they did. Two game developers were on Twitter, I forget their names, stated, we don't know anything about what they're talking about because they didn't consult us. The lobbyists claimed that they consulted all their companies that they were representing. And these developers, two of them that were on the list of companies who were part of the lobbyists, literally came out on Twitter like, they never talked to us about this. Like, dude, They didn't even consult them. And they're two big developers. They're no joke. They're like, we didn't hear anything about this, and this does not fit our viewpoints. Because there are developers out there that say, stop treating games as a license. They don't like that. They're part of a lobbyist group, and they don't even know that the lobbyists are speaking out of tone and out of touch with the actual people they're supposed to represent. I mean, it's bad. That's how bad the situation got with Stop Killing Games. It just did. It blew out of control.
Hero on this? I thought it might be fun to compare what would still be happening if the movement had never happened. First, let's look at the battle plans. How many of these would still be happening without us? Oh, yeah, nothing. None of this would be happening. Stop Killing Games is taking credit for getting all of this rolling.
I'll be honest. If this was becoming a major issue and our good friend Total Biscuit, our cynical Brit, was still around, rest in peace, cynical Brit. If he was still around, he would be part of this initiative and probably be at the forefront with Adam. Like, no doubt. Because he despised censorship and politicians trying to control transformative content and games. He fought it tooth and nail. That guy was an activist when it came to gaming.
If you don't believe me, I encourage you to look at any news related to saving your games prior to January 2024. I feel certain without us, the crew would have been just another shutdown, like Darkspore, Battleforge, PlanetSide, Asheron's Call, Dust 514. I mean...
But keep in mind, the hero and the antagonist of this series is Pirate Software. Kind of ironic. He not only played the villain, but he was the hero who got it the attention it needed because of how bad his take was. And that's pretty much the biggest reason why it exploded the way it did and drew so much attention.
If any game was going to get people motivated, I would think it would be Overwatch. It sold over 50 million copies, was destroyed, and people just accepted it, best I can tell. I think it didn't have the same legal openings that the crew did, but there wasn't an upswell that led to any big action that I'm aware of.
That's because people were promised Overwatch 2 with an actual single-player campaign and unique stories for each of the characters. And you know what they got? Multiplayer again, with the exact same characters, the exact same structures, and just the few tweaks and changes. That was Overwatch 2. Oh boy.
I think if we hadn't acted
Now
when
you know
we
why
did,
Marvel
the
Rivals
game
took
destruction
over.
would just continue as usual, the same way it did in 2023, 2022, and so on. I really believe this movement was our only chance on this. Oh sure, there would be other game shutdowns, but then people would just accept them too, like there's some sort of law of nature. Hell, some still do. You know, I never expected a penny arcade comic on this, but I love the
I feel like I understand the Stop Killing Games side of the argument, but I don't understand the Keep Killing Games side. I mean, they don't call themselves that. This is why nobody can have actual conversations about shit anymore. Everybody is always trying to deliver viral moments, and nuance is lost. They have a position, and it just happens to be different than yours. So what do they call themselves? Consumer annihilators.
write-up underneath it. What we've been conditioned to believe is normal simply isn't. The purpose of the campaign is to give you what you already own. It's a bizarre state of affairs. The part about conditioning is so true. From my perspective, it's felt like
I'll be honest, I don't believe free-to-play MMOs should be saved. You're not paying for those. They're free to play. So, I'm a firm believer if you're paying right out of the bucket for a game on day one or anytime after that, and it has a price tag on it of like $69.99, that's the threshold that it should be held at. Like, I guess a good way to approach this for lawmakers would to be set a price threshold that games have to meet in order to qualify to be grandfathered in to not be destroyed. That'd be a nice instance. I'm not sure how they would enforce that, but like if the price threshold for a game was $69.99 or more, that game cannot be destroyed and has to be saved in after its end of life cycle. That'd be a nice threshold to meet. And it would also force developers to be regulated on pricing for games, which means if they don't want it to be saved, and part of that stop killing games, they'd have to make it $59.99, making it $60 or even less. Imagine that. A good way to regulate the price and at the exact same time force them to make lower pricing. Ha! I've solved the mystery.
Lots of gamers have gotten brainwashed on this over the years. I really feel like we're defying the odds by getting people to wake up. So what didn't we change related to game ownership? Well, there's a few things. That bill in California doubling down and saying you own nothing, but that there should be clear labels about you owning nothing would still have passed. That was mostly from Sony pulling movies off its platform, not us. The court case against Ubisoft in the US might still have gone through. It depends on how motivated the plaintiffs were by the movement or not. I unfortunately think that case has no chance of stopping the practice of game destruction, but we weren't behind that one. Server emulator attempts on The Crew would still be happening without us, thankfully. The US Copyright Office would still have rejected the Video Game History Foundation's attempt to get extremely meager exemptions to the DMCA. And yeah, I think that's about it. We can take credit for pretty much.
I want to be clear, the US government has made subtly no new law in years. Like no actual productive law. That is how stagnant our current Congress and senators are. There has been no new good law that benefits the people as a whole in some form or another, that isn't in favor of them getting more money in their pockets and benefiting a company. That is where the stagnation is with the American government. They don't spend any time putting in work to pass productive law. It is so bad now. So bad. And the worst part about it is that they make millions doing nothing. Show up to a few speeches, dress up real nice, go out for some dinner with some lobbyists, and that's it. That's all they do. And when the company needs something, they call in that favor. After, we gave you that sponsorship money, now we need you to do this for us. That's how it works. And it's so disgusting. I am not a fan of any lifetime serving senator or congressman. They all need to be booted out and fresh blood needs to get in there. Man, term limits would be great on them. But of course they argue back to you, well, nothing would get done if we're forced on term limits. No, that's not it at all. More would get done because we could actually get people in there that want to get more change done actively and more fast. Like, more fast is a really weird way to put it. Faster change done at a quicker pace. That's what we need. Younger blood in there. I mean, like, look at the state of the presidency right now. A ton of old men in their 70s plus have been president since then. I mean, wow. Just wow. But now you're starting to get VP Vance is one of the youngest vice presidents, potentially the next candidate up for the Republicans to be president. That's young blood. Now, I may not like the change that happens. I may not like the policies implemented by this newer, younger blood that could end up in office. But here's the point. It's change that we need. Slow. It's not going to be slow. It's going to be quick, and it's going to be hitting us hard. But you know what? It's actual change. People doing their jobs. And if you don't like what they did during the first term, you just send them on out. And you put someone else in there running, and you have them give it a shot. And if you like their change, you can re-elect them again. That's the benefit of term limits on senators and congressmen. Actual change being done. And if one gets elected and does no change at all, next election, they come up, don't vote for them. Vote for the other person. It's as simple as that. That's why I am such a firm believer in term limits on senators and congressmen. Man, that would be so good.
Much everything else related to pushing back against game destruction from 2024 onward. Unless you think that Concord is the spark that would have rallied everyone to push back.
Okay, Concord was a $400 million budget explosion terrible. And I don't think it was because it was buggy. It was just a cash grab game. It was supposed to be Sony's primary launch, I think, on the PS5, and they needed it, but it failed miserably. And again, it's because these companies are listening to investors and not paying attention to trends. Live service games, they're going one direction. It's clear as day. Night Rain, Marvel Rivals, Hellriders. Dude, it's so obvious where they're going. The mechanics are no longer in favor of spitting out the same old crap. You gotta get innovative and you've gotta change it up. Helldivers was a breath of fresh air for the gaming community. Night Rain followed a similar principle that Helldivers 2 did. And I mean, let's be real. Marvel Rivals follows a similar pattern of other live service games, except it did something better. It took advantage of source material it has in a universe that people want an actual game in, where they could play those characters and fight. Because it's never been done. You're going to say, well, Overwatch, yeah, it's been done. No. I'm talking about taking the Marvel universe and doing it. DC tried to do something similar. It was a moderate success. But Marvel Rivals really just blew it up. And the biggest thing is them taking advantage of the skins. The skins are where the money's at. But a lot of these live service games don't do that. They're battle passes, random gotchas, RNG crates. Just stuff nobody wants to invest money in anymore. Like, it's gotten out of control. If you're going to be a live service game, you have to be innovative and creative, and it's got to be something different about it. Something that grabs people's attention. Not the same old junk pushed out for the last 2 decades that nobody is going to touch. And you're like, why did this fail? And then the company goes in, well, we blame the gamers. They didn't buy our game. Well, duh. But it's not our fault. It's your fault for making the same crap. And the focus has been shifting to more single-player based games. People want a single-player experience, not this live service online requirement nonsense. So, that's what you get.
Or hey, Anthem, that too.
Anthem had so much potential. That game had so much potential. But it bombed. It bombed. 1, due to the buggy release. 2, due to the limited amount of availability for the armors in the game, and the controls, and the fact it was linear rather than open world. Man, Anthem had a lot of potential. It really did. That game, it could have been something great. It could have been Destiny after Destiny. Because Destiny was great. The first Destiny had a few problems, but that people did love it. I mean, I had a good friend of mine named Jesse. Man, he loved Destiny. He played the crap out of that.
So yeah, we're on a different timeline now. It feels weird. Okay, and here's the part nobody is going to like. I have been exhausted almost every day for over a month now.
I'm not gonna lie, he doesn't look bad. Like, he doesn't look terrible in any way, like he's super exhausted. Maybe tired, but I guess it's because when he's making these videos, he's got to spend time writing the script and getting all the words out and everything that he needs out. Because that's why you'll notice the momentary cuts. Because sometimes you can prattle on and on and on. You know, like I do.
This is what I'm looking like almost all the time now when I'm not on camera. I know a lot of people found out about Stop Killing Games just recently, but I've been going at it hard for over a year and a half now, and I wasn't exactly well rested prior to that. When I made the first end video, I thought I would get a break afterwards. Nope. It's been unending overtime because like hell I was gonna miss the opportunity to actually turn this around. But man, I am feeling it.
You can thank Pirate Software if you want to. The ultimate villain turned into the hero of the entire initiative because of his terrible take.
There's been something that has to be done every waking moment since then. And I have no room to complain either. I'm the one who brought this on myself. Well, no, the industry brought this on all of us, but I'm the one who decided to get in front of it. But since I have been getting worn the hell down. This may sound crazy, but I'm actually at a point where I'm becoming numb as to whether we even win or not. If we win, great. If we lose, but I still gave it my best effort, I can live with that. But what would drive me crazy is losing because I dropped the ball on something I can obviously fix. For example, if a regulator gets bribed by the industry, I have no influence on that. But telling people there's a way for our issue to be a rider on the Digital Fairness Act if enough people comment on it, yeah, that is totally something I kind of had to do to maximize our chances. So I kind of either need to win or be defeated. In between just doesn't work for me. I mean, even if we lose, I want everyone involved to own it. So if the EU says there's no problem with publishers killing games you paid for, fine. I want to hear them say that terms like these are considered legal and completely fair under Directive 9313 EEC, which is supposed to protect consumers against unfair terms and mass-produced contracts.
Yeah, companies have drifted away from consumer friendly and are more in favor of just being non-consumer friendly. They don't care about the consumer anymore. They literally want to sell you a product and cancel it at any time. That's what they want to do. So say you buy a hairbrush, not electric, nothing at all, but they want the right to walk into your house and take it back after they've stopped supplying service for it. That's basically where this is going. It's such a subtle example, but it's the truth. That's where it's going.
If consumer protections never really existed for video games this whole time,
Consumer protections haven't existed, period. I haven't seen a single situation anywhere that has gained any kind of traction where our consumer protections have ever been enforced. The consumers, it's like the Consumer Riots Act or something like that. I forget what it's called, where people go in to a place and say the customer is always right. But that's an old saying from the customer is always right in terms of taste, which means they're not always right. They're just right in terms of what they find tasteful. I mean, dude, seriously, the things companies have done and gotten away with, false advertisement is everywhere. They lie about things all the time. Like, here's a good example. It's a scam, what I'm about to tell you, where they'll send you these catalogs, and they'll tell you in that catalog, if you pull this many of this particular thing, you can win $100,000. You're like, oh, well, I'll just play for fun. And then you pull 3 of that thing. It's like, oh my God, I won $100,000. But turns out, and it's not available on the actual catalog, that they're telling you, you won that 3, but it only gives you the chance to participate in a drawing out at a dealership with cars, where they tell you you get to pull your lightning out a possibility of winning $100,000. It's literally a scam to get you out there. And it's false advertisement because they don't make that clear in the actual ad. They do this kinds of stuff. They do this kind of stuff to get around, and never once has false advertisement I've seen ever be sued for or enforced by the Consumer Rights Act. Ever. If someone can point it out to me in chat or in the comment section, that would be interesting, but I'm telling you, I've never seen it.
and the EU Commission wants to keep it that way, then let's hear them say it so the whole world knows. They could have saved me a lot of time and effort. I think there's a serious chance we could win, though, somewhere. Anyway, I've said before, I've kind of hated doing all of this. It's just been a competing scale of knowing I would hate myself more if I quit at a critical juncture. Well, I'm just about through the most critical junctures. Oh, there's more left, but not ones I know how to influence much. My goal on all of this has always been to get in, hit as hard as I can, then get out. The getting out part is taking longer than I would have wanted, but that's still the plan. I want to be done with this so badly. I don't think a clean break is really possible for me yet. Even as I say this, I still have days of campaign work I'm behind on. But as soon as I start to get on top of things, my plan is to be on a standby break, where if something important happens where I need to do something, yeah, I'll drop everything and do it. Otherwise, I want out as soon as it won't cause things to implode. If you work past a certain point, you kind of stop caring about everything, or at least I do. Right now, I feel like I want to
He's passionate about it, but not passionate about it, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know how to put his attitude. His attitude is more, I'm passionate about it. I'll put in the work, but only enough work that covers certain areas. Because I'm certain he could do even more than this if he really wanted to, but it takes its toll. So that makes sense. So I guess it's more like that. Putting in just enough to get the job done, but not putting in overtime to really overdo it. Because as they say, you can pack yourself with as much information as you want, but sometimes too much information is not a good thing.
Take a break for the next 10 years. I probably don't need to, or can't really. Maybe I only need a couple days. I have no way of telling anymore. You know that life training machine from The Princess Bride? Yeah, I feel like I might have had a round or two on that. Ironically, I haven't had time to play a
With
game
a water wheel?
for close to a couple months
Okay,
now.
Magic.
I admit, part of me just wants to play games for days and not look back. I'm reminded of an Onion article talking about how you could just stop working and play video games until you run out of money and get evicted. My mind has gone there before. So assuming I get my life force back at some point, which I probably will, I don't know. I've noticed recently I have a lot of new viewers, so I should probably talk some about this channel. This whole thing with Stop Killing Games has been one giant detour for me. It's not what I want to spend my time on any more than necessary. Now things could easily change, but at this moment, I have no plans to make more videos on Stop Killing Games, because so much is underway now. Now there are all kinds of things I probably could report on, but here's the way I look at it. I see news related to game destruction as kind of falling into one of two categories. Some news raises awareness of the problem, but then nothing ever comes from it, nobody does anything, and the problem just gets worse. This is the kind I did without realizing it 9 years off and on leading up to the campaign. Every video I've made on this subject prior to 2024 never amounted to a damn thing. Now the other category points to some sort of obvious action to be taken, so people do something, and that can change the situation. A good chunk of the coverage I've done on Stop Killing Games has been an attempt at that. See, I don't care about reporting the news. I care about games not being destroyed. The news was just a means to an end. So, since I have a lot of new subscribers lately, if you came here expecting a lot more news on dead games and the campaign, you're probably gonna be disappointed and should unsubscribe. I'm only interested in category 2 now. In my eyes, the important part is what we're doing, not how often I'm talking about it. And this is what we've been doing. This is the part that counts for something. I know this is gonna upset people, but it's like I said, you work past a certain point, you stop caring about everything. Maybe I'll be more open-minded once I'm less burned out, but this campaign stuff is not a new direction for the channel. This is all temporary. So that may leave you wondering, what the hell is this channel then? Well, normally it's a few things. The big thing I was doing prior to this was Ross's Game Dungeon, where it's sort of a game review show, but kind of targeted to something you might watch late at night when you're wondering what you're doing with your life.
Is it Tales of the Crypt? Late at night? Just a random, not very scary, but somewhat scary series? But you take it on games? Maybe it's that.
I think that's my target audience. The last episode, Sabotane, is actually pretty representative of what to expect, though some can be much shorter. If you like that, then yes, you probably should stay subscribed. I've also been meaning to continue Freeman's Mind, where I narrate the thoughts of Gordon Freeman from Half-Life. That one's kind of a runaway experiment that's been taking me too long to do, but people still seem to want it. Now what I've done in the past and would like to get back to are original comedy shorts using a game engine to animate the scenes. Most of these were a series called Civil Protection, which is set in the Half-Life 2 world created with its software development kit. I also did one short in Source Filmmaker, which is a whole different kind of pain. I've had other one-off original shorts also. They're almost all comedy or comedy adventure. I like directing, but I kind of hate animating. It's such a time sink. Though it's probably getting easier with more tools available nowadays. Especially since I'm not aiming for Pixar quality. I care way more about writing and acting. I doubt I'll hit it, but my ideal look would be something like the in-game cutscenes from StarCraft 2, where it's obvious it's a game engine, but the animation still looks great. Now, I should warn people, I am slow. You know how most movies take a couple years to make because a lot of effort goes into making them? That workflow is a lot more compatible with my brain.
The thing he brings up there brings another good point to me, is what companies are doing nowadays with movies and games, making these huge productions out of them, having thousands of people work on it. When it's clear as day, there's not enough, you can't oversight that many people. You can't quality control that many. It's just not possible. Things get overlooked, things get missed, and it's just a cluster crap hole of people taking money that they don't deserve. And that's just what it is. These developers and publishers look at these big scopes and hire 1,000 people to do it, and then don't take any quality control properly or oversight. If you notice, the games that have been successful over the last few years are either game developers who have been in the niche that they've been doing for years and they never stop doing it, and it's worked out great for them. And then the others are small indie studios who quite literally are making these high quality, high tier games that are doing extremely well. Like a likely game of the year winner this year is going to be Expedition 33. That game was great. Great. And it was a small indie developer of, like, I believe 20 people. 20 people made that game. And the quality was beyond anything a major AAA would have ever been able to come up with in the last decade that was even good. I mean, Space Marines 2, that was another great one. Lord of Shadows. I mean, there are some good ones out there that are just phenomenal because they have smaller teams and more oversight. Smaller teams means less going on all over the place and people actually looking at it and working with it. Literally, that's what it is. And that's literally what it is. And it's great. And we're going back towards the smaller developing teams doing this. And even if they're a big developer, like Larian and From Software, but they stick to their niche and they don't leave it, they can hire more people to develop bigger games, but they stick to what they're good at. They stick to their CRPGs. They stick to their Souls-likes. They know what they're good at, and they keep doing it. Occasionally, they like to branch out. Like, for example, Miyazaki had gotten so sick of doing Dark Souls games, he wanted to do something different. Sekiro. Sekiro was that. And you know what happened? One game of the year in 2019. One game of the year in 2019. And then another thing. Miyazaki wanted to do another Dark Souls game, but he wanted it to be an open world. What happened? Elden Ring. Game of the year. Larian didn't stop sticking to what they're good at. Owlcat, another developer for CRPGs, stuck to what they're good at. And they came out with the Rogue Trader from Warhammer 40k. And that game has been a phenomenal success. Larian's magnum opus success was Baldur's Gate 3. Like, every Baldur's Gate game that's come out has been, like, the Baldur's Gate 1, 2, and 3 series, not Dark Alliance. But the Baldur's Gate 1, 2, and 3, each one has been great. Baldur's Gate 1 was good. Baldur's Gate 2 was really good. I love that game. And Baldur's Gate 3, mwah, chef's kiss. When you get these developers that do this kind of stuff, they're always developing better and better games because they stick to their niche that they're good at. That's what developers and companies should take, is stop drifting off into these weird zones where you think you can make all this money and just stick to what you're good at. I mean, let's be clear, Sekiro was a different type of game, but it still stuck to their niche of hard games with hard difficulties. Just, this was more action-packed, awesome fighting mechanics, block and parries, like all that stuff.
But that is not how things work on YouTube, which wants new videos constantly. See, if I was smart, I would just make short commentary videos, get way more views and income.
That's where the algorithm is at. I mean, my channel right now suffers from being a very old channel from 2007, and I started creating in 2017, and it just suffers from being in the backlog of the algorithm. I get very few views, and it sucks. I spent years trying different stuff. I've been a variety streamer. I've been a content creator. I have done video editing. I've done 3D animations. I've done modeling. I've done so much crap, but nothing's really taken foothold and gotten any attention. So I dipped into the VTuber space, and honestly, I enjoyed this a lot more than I've done anything else, because here I can give my honest opinion about how I feel about certain things and how I view it. And I don't try to be a, oh, I'm not going to change my opinion, this won't change type of person. I can be convinced if you give me a valid argument that fits it.
But those aren't really worth watching. They're more just a proof of life thing, since in
No,
the
he
past,
does have a
viewers would
Twitch.
constantly make comments about whether I was dead or not, and now they don't say that so much. Though I think I'm going to change that a little bit and start posting those on my secondary channel, Accursed Farms Junk, instead. So hopefully only videos I think have some merit to them will be on this channel in the future. So those are the plans for the channel, but before I go, this part is a bit selfish of me, but it's related to game preservation. Part of the reason I hate seeing games destroyed is because so many just have fantastic worlds. So it's a slap in the face to me every time a great one is destroyed forever. Hey, Anthem is due to shut down. A bunch of people say it's not a good game, and they're probably right. But look at that world. That looks pretty cool. Of course I would want to see that. Too bad EA is dumping all of this in the trash so no one can ever experience it again. This is also why I can get resentful towards people trying to defend this practice. It's art destruction, and it's preventable. Yeah, let's add a label saying this world will be completely destroyed for everyone. That solves the problem, right? Anyway, I'm rehashing some of what I talk about in this video, but even if we end up being unable to save games, man, I at least want to save the game worlds. Well, I think technology is making that more and more of a possibility, especially with using AI to extrapolate assets. I see there as being a few levels to this. The first would just be a completely static world. The second would cover things like basic looping animations, grass swaying, stuff like that. Then you would have advanced or contextual animations like NPCs or traffic. And I guess the fourth layer would be mimicking the game itself, though I would still get a lot of value with even this second layer here. Some have compared what I'm asking for to the NoClip website. Yeah, that's similar, but there are hundreds of games I want this for, especially for games on death row. Now, some people may bring up how there have been AI projects to generate gameplay-like footage in real time, like an AI rendition of Quake 2, or prompts by Google. In my opinion, this is barking up the wrong tree. All the footage looks soupy and has an uncanny valley feeling. Instead, they should be using the AI to take its best.
It's basically AI attempting to put you in a lucid dream where it feels like you're not 3D and everything's just fluid.
Guess generating the models and textures, maybe even entities to be ported to an engine like Unreal or something. Then it could be rendered cleanly and not have this creepy soup vibe to everything, or at least a lot less. Really, the technology for some of this I think is here right now, but it needs to be integrated and streamlined because the people willing to go and plot out these game worlds might not be the same people developing the tools. Even with the technology, right now there's probably 20 steps between capturing footage from the game and porting an imitation of it inside an engine you could walk around in. Anyway, I just want to encourage development in this direction. I said I'd rather be doing things besides the campaign. Well, this is one of them. Be part of a Game World Explorers Club. So that's the wrap up. Stop Killing Games is largely underway, even though there are a few things left to do. I'm a bit of a burned out husk because of it, but I can keep burning some more if necessary. And yeah, that's it. See ya.
His face at the end of the video. He looked like he was. I'm done. He's like, I'm just done. Oh man, thanks for the time, man. All right, I'm going to take a small break, and I'll be back shortly. Okay, I'm back. Had to deal with my cat. Hex decided, hey, I'm gonna get poked by a stinger bug. Yeah. So he got on his front paw and I was trying to pull the stinger out, and man, he was not letting me. He would fight me to the bitter end. I had to put him in his little cone of shame, get him to wake up. And now he seems to be walking on the paw just fine. But he's not going out of my room until I'm certain he's going to be being an oddball. But I can let him out of the room. Go on. As long as he's got his hoodie on, he can't do anything to his paw. He was licking it and biting it. He's like, I got hit by a stinger bug. I'm like, let me get the stinger out. He was like, meow, no. Absolute troll of a cat. He fought me, too. Ooh, he's never growled at me before. That's a first. But pain will piss off an animal. Yep. All right. We're back. I got myself a sandwich with some chips. And yeah. Now we're on to our next video. They just got completely destroyed. I want to be clear. A VTuber named Nux, this guy named More Pegasus, and a few other YouTubers are slosh tubers, and they make these weird clickbait titles. I want to be clear, these people are not destroyed. They haven't been totally destroyed. They're close, but no, they have not. It's just the same titles over and over, just reworded in different ways.
Diabolical! Even Darth Vader subscribed.
Yes, Darth Vader subscribed to SloshTube.
Welcome back to a series so diabolical. Even Darth Vader subscribed. In today's video, Hassan is getting absolutely obliterated for his appearance on the NPR podcast. He's now trying to brigade it with his fans, trying to change his PR. Hassan has brought yet another Hassan orbiter in the back to sit in his puck chair. Meanwhile, he goes on unhinged rants about Asmongold and Ethan. Hassan orbiting Moon Froggen is in gigantic trouble. Time is running out and her tactic of hiding from Ethan is not working. YouTuber and lawyer Legal Mindset is calling her out, and a bunch of more updates. Subscribe for endless entertainment, the likes of which you've never seen before. Take it away, Jellywig.
Let's up those numbers!
Now let's begin with...
Okay, so the girl with the, I don't know what called that she was wearing, the head cover, she quite literally has been one of Hassan's primary orbiters, taking content that he has left over and streaming it herself. But because of what she's been doing and things she said about Ethan, she was sued. And she has 5 days to respond to the suit. However, she has not and believes in hiding. She even raised $50,000 to fight it, but there's a possibility she's taken that money and made a run for the hills. Her fans really got played.
This video, Hassan Piker, a himbo gateway drug to the left. It's been a minute. And basically, Hassan appeared on this podcast and was questioned on a bunch of things like masculinity, politics, and a bunch of other topics. And turns out the comment section is absolutely cooking him. So Hassan is trying to send his audience to try and change the narrative. So here we have the comments. Not sure that promoting 10 toes down with the Houthis is going to yield great results, to be honest. FYI, this guy said that people who support capitalism should be put into re-education camps and that freedom of speech should be banned after communism is installed in the US government. Why was there zero pushback on this or any of his horrible violent beliefs? Pro promotes terrorist propaganda on the regular. Bro needs to be on a watch list. My favorite streamer definitely didn't endorse Hamas, Hezbollah, and other civilian murdering terrorists. Or
So, to put this in reference, Hassan made some weird takes, as he always does. But the biggest issue is, with people like him, is they don't seem to understand what it's like to live in a communist society. a socialist society, and see how badly those things fail you. Hassan comes from a rich family. He's wanted for nothing. And I don't know what it is with all these kids these days that come out of these rich households and they start taking advantage of victimhood and socialism. I don't get it. Why they act like that. They lived, like, their lives were not terrible. So why are they pushing for it? I don't know. Maybe they just are pushing for it because they don't want to have to do anything. Who knows? Whatever the reason is, socialism, boo.
Hassan claims his NPR podcast is being brigaded, instructs his audience to control the narrative.
The Americans, as a matter of fact, for example, have...
Comment sections are bullshit self-care. Oh, no, they're being heavily brigaded. Which, of course, obviously, it is upon you, chatters, to go fucking seize control over the narrative and show support to NPR, which is unfortunately in a dire state and needs the support.
Okay, so basically you want them to brigade the comment section. Like, you're literally criticizing people for brigading while doing the exact same thing. Also, I don't think this comment section was brigaded. Literally nobody talked about this. This is people just organically noticing that you're a extremist freak who should not be allowed to associate with anyone and platform your propaganda. You're literally out here trying to send your audience to try and change the narrative on the video, and it didn't even work. Like, all the top comments are still just cooking you. And that's after you send thousands of people to try and fix your PR. I mean, how absolutely pathetic is that? Dude, this guy can't handle the slightest bit of criticism. He always has to try and manufacture good PR. And, you know, that's why the only, like, articles he reads are, like, his simp journalist friends. I think it's time to accept the fact that nobody likes you, dude. I wonder what would have happened to Hassan's career if he actually didn't say dumb stuff. To be fair, he just wouldn't have a career, so I guess that's why he says dumb stuff. Anyway, so let's actually check out the video. So first they talk about that title that he's like a himbo drug to the left or something.
You know, Hassan, I don't know if I've ever heard the term himbo gateway drug before. Is that how you describe yourself?
Yeah, I think that nails it, I guess. Just gateway drug to empathy.
Gateway drug to
in
empathy.
a himbo format.
Ah yes, Hassan Piker, the absolute personification of empathy itself. Bro spent a couple days with iDubbbz and downloaded the entire PDF for empathy. I mean, to be fair, Hassan has reached the age of 32, so I guess it kind of makes sense. The thing with Hassan's empathy though is that it's only for his side, and it's absolutely zero empathy for anyone that even mildly disagrees with you. So it's empathy for people like Froggen, you know, who's like, oh, I can't believe you guys are calling her fat. This is the most horrible thing in the world. Meanwhile, here he is trying to ruin Ethan's life for like a 1% disagreement. By the way, if you didn't know, himbo means like a good-looking but unintelligent man. So basically like a stupid meathead. Also, is it
So it's
just
a real
me,
word.
or does he look like he aged 15 years in this like podcast setting or whatever? Brother, what meds are you actually on? Is this like does roids do this, or like what is going on here? Anyways, this next part he talks about games being political.
Bros, I think, are often stereotypically considered to be conservative. Why do you think like these activities, like working out, video games, etc., why do you think they are so conservative coded?
I wouldn't say they're necessarily conservative coded. I would just simply say that they are easier to be branded as apolitical. I mean, there's a very funny long-standing joke or meme in the gaming sphere where people will say, oh, why do you have politics in my video games? Like, get politics out of my video games is like this rallying cry from Gamergate onward, and it usually is deployed at any video game that has like a black female protagonist, and then immediately that's like being considered as political. It's like the two genders, you know, white man and political. And these guys will unironically say things like Call of Duty is not political, or Call of Duty wasn't political until there was like a black woman in it. Yeah, they just don't understand that like Call of Duty has of course always been political. Like, man, it's a You know, sometimes making a criticism of American imperialism, in other instances is quite literally defending American imperialism, but it's never not political.
Yeah, dude, let me give you a massive spoiler here. Most people don't give a shit about that stuff. They just want to shoot stuff. When I play COD, I'm not thinking of the underlying political undertones, all right? I'm not that fucking miserable. I just want to shoot some people in a video game. Dude, this guy has to turn everything into the most miserable, cringe, political war ever, bro. Life is not about that. And this guy has the audacity to say, my favorite anime is One Piece, guys. And it's not because of the characters, the world building, the story, you know, somewhat like reasonable, normal ways to like an anime, right? Instead, it's because, well, it's actually the underlying political message that really draws me in here. You know, like my real life terrorist friend here, right? He's just like Luffy, don't you see? He's oppressing the tyrannical government, of course. Bro, Hassan gotta be like the biggest buzzkill in the world. You just know this dude brings it up in every conversation ever, annoying the heck out of everybody. Like everybody will just be having a good time, and then
Hassan Piker is the kind of person who'll throw words at a subject and hope no one calls him out on what they mean. That's how I feel when I watch him. I feel like he just says something to add a word to it and make it sound like it applies to that.
goes, but have you thought about the political and economic state of the world right now? Goes to Thanksgiving and I'm like, guys, I can't believe you're eating a turkey when there's a genocide going on. This is actually unacceptable, guys. Please donate. Please donate to my stream first, then Gaza, of course. Right, so this next part, he talks about his audience demographics, and this gotta be the biggest cap, bruh.
Who do you think your audience is, and what do you think they see in you?
My audience is pretty diverse, I would say. It's like quarter female, 75% male, which is 18 to 35-year-old men for the most part. And a lot of them are white, a lot of them are atheist or agnostic, a lot of them are in college and education, or you know, have just started their jobs.
But what do you think they are looking for from you? What do you think they like see in you that keeps them engaged?
I think that they want a shared space.
Yes, of course. They just want a shared space. They just want a safe space, guys. A safe space to support terrorism, of course. Very safe for everybody except civilians, I guess. Your demographic is literally terrorist supporters, like actual radical extremist far lefties, or in more recent times, blatant anti-Semites. Your audience is literally filled with Mike from PAs, bro. People who lose boxing matches to couches. People with absolutely failed lives who have got nothing better to do than see the entire world burn. This guy trying to pretend that his audience is like somewhat normal.
Yeah. Hassan comes from a very well-established family. His father is not poor by any means, and yet somehow he put himself in this space and literally takes advantage of people too dumb to see that it's just wrong. A lot of these people that are subscribed, followed, or going around with him are probably people that just think that no one understands them and they have no place to be. And a lot of it is because of choices they made in their life, and they just refuse to accept those changes and move on. So they go to their safe space, which apparently is his chat on Twitch, and they watch his content. And they like it because it resonates with them when he says something. And that's an important thing to take away from this, is the ability to resonate with a certain group of people. And he definitely does, but not in a good way. And I'm surprised, for as long as he's been on and all the stuff that I'm learning about it, what he's done and said is some of the craziest things I've heard. I just can't understand how people that come from well-off families become socialists. They've wanted for nothing, but they're socialists now. They see the plight of people that are not making as much money as them, and they think they understand it, but they don't. I don't know. It's a strange thing. I'll never understand it.
Or the average person is just so ridiculous. Like, no regular well-meaning person is watching Hassan Piker and thinking, yeah, well, that's a pretty reasonable guy. I actually really agree with all of it.
He's right, but there are reasonable people who are trolls and just like to instigate the chat. So they join Pike's Hassan's stream and just kind of say whatever to get people mad.
His opinions here. Moving on to this next part, he's crying about Asmongold again. Who would have thought, guys? It's another Tuesday, but this time he's got pathological liar Noah Samson in the cuck chair to absolutely glaze him while he goes on unhinged rants. So it's like every week he has another person sit in that chair to be absolutely degraded and humiliated, from iDubbbz to a bunch of random other people. Like, he just keeps cycling them out over and over, trying to pretend he actually has friends. By the way, if you missed a couple episodes of the series, Noah Samson is another Hassan orbiter and a YouTuber who is one of the most pathetic people on the planet. He lies constantly, misrepresents every single situation, literally a Hassan clone here. And this is a guy who said that we need to escalate, guys. We have direct physical access to the propagandists, the weapons, the politicians, etc. And essentially just implying that he wants to incite violence. Like, this guy's completely nuts.
We have direct geographical, physical access to the politicians, the propagandists, the weapons companies, and the supply chains that are facilitating this genocide. If we want this genocide to stop, it's time to escalate.
So here they're talking about how Asmongold doesn't actually stream for money, but more like validation.
The reason why I brought...
So was he actually saying to overthrow the government? Because if he was, he should be arrested already. Is that what he's saying? Did he literally just say that and nothing was done? Oh my god. Dude wasn't even subtle about it. He said it directly.
brought up how he lives is because, one, he does live in filth. Okay, the fuck are you talking about? And two, that plays a role in this. It's not like I'm talking about how he doesn't give a shit about making extra money. People are wrong when they think he's doing this just for money. He's not doing it for money. You're misunderstanding the motivation here. Okay, make with that information what you will, but he's not doing this for money. He's
already got money. He's a millionaire. Asmongold likes to stream and talk to share his viewpoints. It's just what he likes to do. It's something he enjoys. He now doesn't have to do it for the money. He does it because he can. And he's not a crazy hobo living out of a shed with a computer talking in tongues that you can't understand. The man's points are valid, and he speaks them very well when trying to get his point across. I may not agree with a lot of the stuff he says, but there's some stuff of his I do agree with. Hassan, I disagree with everything he says. Everything I've seen. The guy is a walking revolutionary in the making, and it's not good.
Doing this for validation. He's doing this for building a sense of community. He's doing this for having a shit ton of yes men. And
a shit ton of yes men. Dude, that's what you have. You have a shit ton of yes men. Asmon doesn't have a whole bunch of yes men because the majority of the time he argues with his chat. You don't watch his streams or his clips where he gets into it with people and he literally gives them a chance to make their point when he pulls up their chat log and says, all right, tell me how I'm wrong, and then explain it. There's times where he gets a little ridiculous where he's like, well, that's wrong and I disagree with that. And I get it, you can do that. But he does something that you don't, Hassan. He engages with his chat and talks to them. And he does it often. That's his entire thing. He doesn't ignore them. Like, one time he made a comment, and I'm trying to remember what it was about. It was about, I think, Chuck Norris or Bruce Lee. It was about a martial artist where he made some weird comment and it pissed off the entire chat because they disagreed with him Everybody disagreed with him. And he was just like, whoa, I've really set off chat. Oh my God, chat's pissed at me for that. Oh wow, you guys really believe that? And he's had those instances where the whole chat just like flips on him like, holy crap, what are you talking about? And he accepts that. He knows when he's lost. He admits when he's wrong, and he admits when he thinks he's right. He may have an ego with it, but I can promise you one thing. Unlike you, Hassan, he engages with his chat, which is very few and far between with any of your orbiters or the people you've engaged with. You don't engage with your chat. You just talk or disappear from your chair numerous times for videos. You're the reason why H3H3's got the lawsuit with the transformative content. With no transformative, just the empty chair.
If you do that because you have good takes, right? If you want to cultivate a community of yes men over your takes on like Blizzard, that's only going to take you so far, right? But if you just lean in to
he's a variety streamer. Asmongold is a variety streamer. I can't iterate this enough. He is a variety streamer. He plays games that he wants to play. He talks about talking points he wants to talk about. He talks about subjects he wants to talk about. He engages with his chat through almost every conversation. He's literally watching chat the entire time while talking and then looking back, and he's looking to see if anybody's made a point or a valid criticism that he wants to confront. Because he wants people to disagree with him so he can fight them about it. That's what he wants. He likes people that disagree with him if he's got to talk to them. But not disagree in a stupid way. See, that's the thing you're not getting. He went from Warcraft to a variety streamer to a transmog thing, and then to a variety streamer again. He's just a variety streamer. That's what he does.
Existing, very successful political movement, that is a much easier way. That is a much easier way to develop an audience of loyal fans.
How does he do it every single time? He describes himself perfectly while attempting to describe Asmongold, dude. Dude, you yourself have latched onto the Free Palestine movement like a fucking parasite toxin. You know, you take the moderate left and make them more extreme and extreme and extreme. You use the war in Gaza to get followers and money while encouraging more and more extremism, supporting terrorists. And these people are so dumb. They legitimately think that donating to Hassan Piker is somehow helping Palestine. Like, you gotta be the dumbest, actual low IQ lobotomite, bro. And he still has to play victim. Like, he still has to cry, oh, I'm the underdog, guys. My position is actually so unpopular. Yeah, I mean, supporting terrorists tends to be a bit unpopular, man. Also, about Asmongold, isn't it like a good thing that he doesn't do it for money? Because that would be a pretty bad motivation to, you know, have...
He has money. At one point, he was doing it for money. And it stopped being about the money once he had enough money to live on for the rest of his life. He's not interested in, like, companies who, like, it's not enough to just have some of the money. We need all the money. He's not like that. He's like, I'm a millionaire now. I'm content with where I'm at. I invest properly. I do this and that. And this is how I choose to live. And this is what he does. It's about as real as you get.
Have all these opinions and it's all just for money, then you can't really take that person seriously because they're literally doing it for money, right? Now, does he do it for validation? I mean, I don't know. I guess everybody sort of does a bit, right? But more like he probably just wants to talk about shit. Like, why do I make these videos, right? I don't know. It's just kind of fun. Side effect is that, you know, there's generating money and entertaining tons of people, but mostly just because it's a fun hobby to have. Now, the real question is, why do you do this, Hassan? What the f is motivating your ass?
Yeah, if he goes over Hassan's family, you'll know why he doesn't have to do this.
Right? To become the most ultimate socialist, grifting, genuinely insane person with the most warped sense of justice I have ever seen. Then a chatter calls him out.
Can't you say that about yourself? Oops, sorry, you're trolling. Low. What the f? No, I won't say that about myself, and I don't say that about myself because my positions haven't dramatically shifted over the course of the past 12 years. And also, my position is not a profoundly popular one. A lot of people actually mistake it as a profoundly popular one because of my own popularity in this fucking sphere. So you think that this is like a global movement or something, okay? There is no socialist president.
Wow, you're so cool, Hassan. You're totally.
There is a massive group of socialists that gather together with a bunch of other interesting people. They gather together, and in order to not insult anybody who are pronoun sensitive, they say comrade to each other in this group. And it's a group of thousands. And I forget what it's called. I can look it up, but it's very real. There is a large socialist communist movement with a group of people that assemble once a year, and they literally do it. It exists. It's a real thing. I'm trying to remember what it's called. Oh, what is it? What is it called? It's a group. I want to see if I can find it, because I think I can. I think I found it. There it is. There it is. DSA National Convention in 2019. This thing was horrible to watch. It was terrible to watch. I cringe every time I listen to it because the amount of catering they have to do for each individual person, for every little thing mentally wrong with each person, they try to cater to and try to benefit to. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. A normal society could never function like this. They could not. Like, I want to watch it now, but we still got to finish this video. But dude, it's cringe. It's cringe-worthy, and it's oh boy.
Totally the underdog here, man. You're fighting against the, like, he legitimately thinks he's the main character in an anime or something. He legitimately thinks he's some sort of like a revolutionary trying to change the world, bro. Like, no, you're just a fucking Twitch streamer. And I just love how he constantly brings on new people to just sit there and watch him mauled at his chat, bro. Like, dude, imagine being one of these absolute cucks sitting right next to him, bro. Wow. He goes and looks to them like, I'm right, guys, right? Please validate me. I have the right opinion, right? You're talking about Asmongold having yes men. Who's the guy right next to you, bro? An actual, like, physical yes man right there. Asmon does whatever he wants and isn't wearing Gucci or trying to flash cash like the insecure bitch that Hassan is projecting so hard here. Every single time he invites someone over, he has to bring up Asmongold. Just ask him out already. Dude, that would be the craziest plot twist of all time. They go on a date. Moving on to Froggen getting absolutely cooked, right?
Okay?
Basically, last time we talked about how she was dodging being served more than 4 times.
We're at the Froggen
Rank
point.
#1 hide-and-seek player in the world somehow. Froggen got some unique abilities there. Basically, she had a week left to respond to Ethan's, lawsuit or whatever, right? And if she doesn't turn up with the lawyer, she basically loses to default judgment, right?
In 5 days. I think this video takes place. Oh, it's just today, so it's been about 3 days. She has 5 days to apply or do something. She raised $50,000 with her community for legal costs and other expenses, as she said, and yet nothing's been heard from her. No one's seen her. No one knows what's going on, and no one knows what happened to the money. Huh. I wonder what she spent it on. Clearly it wasn't legal, because if she did, she'd have already responded to the summary, to the request.
And there's about 3 days left now, so we're gonna find out very quick. But, well, let's have
2 days going on now.
break it down as to how legally she actually is.
She has like 5 days to respond to our complaint or she loses by default. And this was last night. So it's probably down to 4 days. That's one of the most legally inaccurate takes ever. Okay, this is from the Starkers. Can't wait to see the case dismissed after Fro. What is she like? First of all, who calls her Fro?
All right. People, and I'm probably a big culprit of this, people with no knowledge on a subject trying to tell a lawyer how they're wrong is the worst thing you can do. I've never done that to somebody, but I know I've had takes where I think I understand, and I try to state how I understand, but there's probably no doubt I'm probably wrong. I mean, I'm probably wrong. But this situation is hilarious to watch.
Like when I hear them call her Fro, it sounds like she's Froyo. Okay? Like I can't not think that she's frozen yogurt.
Wait, frozen yogurt? I said that a couple videos ago. Legal mindset, welcome. Another fan of the series.
I would have thought he'd been like offended that he stole his idea. Make him sad.
Baby, I'm telling you, the entire world is watching. Okay, probably came up with that himself. But I'm telling you, all right, everybody is tuned into the cinema. Trust me, every single person you know, your great long lost grandfather's son's brother-in-law is watching, all right? Even your dog is watching. I'm telling you, when you're not looking, they turn on the Pegasus series because it's just cinema. It's just cinema. No, but honestly, I love how he gives her like cute names like Froggy. Apparently she's a Froggy now. Diabolical. Then this next part, he talks about these snarkers trying to defend old Froggy.
Diabolical.
After Fro files a motion to quash after being improperly served. This dude is such an idiot. He has all of his money and doesn't know what to do with it, so therefore his quack of a lawyer is just taking it.
Ethan Klein's lawyer, thereof lawyers, has been far from a quack. Believe me, the dude knows what he's doing. Or even she, you never know.
From him, LMAO. This is procedurally inaccurate and completely wrong. First of all, let's explain what a default judgment is. Okay. Default judgment is a court ruling in favor of the plaintiff, typically because the defendant does not file a defense or the defendant doesn't acknowledge the claim. So, you know, if you just want to stick your head in the sand and pretend you don't know what's going on, you're likely going to get a default judgment. And beyond that, we all know that Frogan knows about this lawsuit. Like, it's not something that Frogan doesn't know about. It's very public. So it's very clear what's going on here to a judge. That Frogan is trying to dodge this. Frogan is trying to evade this, right?
Oh, 100%. There is basically zero excuse she can use at this point. She can't claim that she was unaware because she has publicly acknowledged it. And honestly, Frogan, all the local McDonald's have been surrounded. We are prepared to take drastic measures in order to capture you. You don't want to harm the patties. Think of the burgers. Think of the lives you will actually be saving, all right? Think of all the innocent patties who won't have to suffer, all right? Just turn yourself in. Come out with your hands behind your back if she can reach, all right? Come out or we're tossing a salad into the building, all right? You don't need like a flash grenade or anything, just a salad. Just toss one of those in there. She'll come running out. Trust me, okay? We're not playing games.
Dark humor, I bet. Not really. They're making fun of her weight. Yep, they've been doing this. Because she's slandered, defamed, insulted other people, so they've been going after her about her weight.
Froggy, we're gonna bring out the heavy artillery, a spinach, a broccoli, cucumber. Anyways, this next part, he talks about how Frogan could possibly object to a default judgment, right? This was the argument the snarkers were making on the Reddit, like, Ethan can't win by default judgment because Frogan can just object because she hasn't been served properly.
However, Frogi Yogi does have a potential opportunity to challenge the default judgment. And she does that with an objection to the default judgment, which is a motion to set aside. So she can make a motion to set aside the default judgment. Not receiving the claim could be if the service, all types of service, were invalid. But I guarantee you that at least one type of service that they used on this, whether it was, hand delivery or publication or some sort of substitute service, was legally sufficient to provide notice of service or sufficient service to proceed with the case. They're not going to issue the default judgment typically if there was completely bunk service, but the burden would be on Frogie to prove that.
Yeah, that is absolutely not happening. Ethan specifically hired a professional server, and in my estimate, it's like 99% chance that it was done in line with the rules. If Ethan got like a faulty server, that would just be highly unlikely. So she is legally considered served at this point. They tried to contact one of her relatives, apparently some African-American 155-pound whatever person, and apparently she's never seen Frogen in her life, which is a blatant lie. Just look up at the fucking sky, right? She's orbiting around the planet. But so if she tries to object to the default judgment, it's probably not going to go well. Her best choice is to just respond in the next 3 days so she's actually cooked. Also, legal mindset, I gotta give it to you. Frogie Yogi, dude, that is an absolutely endearing nickname. Now you're gonna make me feel bad for these people because that's actually kind of cute. But you know, honestly, even if she loses her job as a streamer and loses a bunch of money, I think she can pay it off. She can take up a job as a magician. You know, for my next trick, I'll make this burger disappear. Right, so this next part, he talks about what happens if Frogen actually wins, right? She objects to the default judgment and she actually wins that motion.
And here's where the snarkers are completely wrong, is even if Frogie objects to the default, and even if the judge grants her motion, if everything goes the same way, you know what the end result is? It's not the case being dropped, kids. It's the case proceeding as normal. So if Frogen goes through all this extra work, all she's gonna do is have the case proceed as normal. Literally, somebody in the chat said it. Who said it here? Square one. It's back at square one. Congratulations, Frogen. You literally did nothing. You do all this work for freaking nothing. Wow, Queen. Wow. So smart. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. Sigma.
Oh my God. A lawyer saying Sigma gotta be like top 10 internet moments. That's how much Hassan orbiters have fried people's brains. We got the lawyer saying Sigma.
Oh yeah, the Hassan orbiters all turned against each other. So it's pretty obvious this is not a group of friends. Or even legit friends.
Flying here. But he's completely right? Escaping default judgment is going to put her back to square one, right? You still gotta win the initial lawsuit that Ethan has against you, and that is just not happening with all the evidence Ethan has shown, even in his public video, and I'm sure he has a bunch of shit behind the scenes as well. So I hate to say it, Frogen, after this, you might actually have to get a small fries. yeah, I know that's like a slur to you. A small anything is like an absolute slur to her, but yeah, you might have to cut back on the budget a little bit, you know. Maybe this will help you. Maybe it'll help you get in shape a little bit because you know, won't be able to afford the 60 million fucking calories, of course. But yeah, after this, he talks about potential fraud because we still have that situation with Frogen's GoFundMe where we don't know where that money actually is.
So here's our lovely Frogie. But she had this legal defense fund, and my concern is, what about the money? What did you do with the cash, Frogen? You're clearly not spending all that money on your lawsuit. And so the question is, where is that money going, Frogen? Is that going to your muffin budget?
This man said muffin budget. Muffin budget. When the lawyer is trolling you, you know you're absolutely cooked, man. Honestly, dude, I haven't had like a muffin in actual years. If Ethan wins this lawsuit, which he absolutely will, when he wins this lawsuit, man, I'm gonna celebrate. I'm gonna buy a whole box of
I hope
muffins
Ethan
or
does
something.
not
I might
settle.
even eat it on camera.
That's my only
a
hope.
Special occasion or something. You know what? I'll change my shirt. I'll even change my shirt, guys. My two promises right there.
And what happens if the funds were diverted to purposes other than the legal defense? That's a possible crime. That's a possible crime. Theft by deception, false pretenses, fraud. This is a type of fraud. Also wire fraud. So we're talking about potential theft or fraud. And once again, this is speculation. If she was misdirecting these funds, she could be fined. There can be restitution, meaning the money is returned to the people that donated, and there can even be prison time. So we need to figure out what's going on with that money.
Dude, if this ends with her getting put in prison, I will actually feel a bit bad. I feel like that is a bit unnecessary. Now, I think this was Legal Mindset's fault. He keeps calling her Frogie Yogi, Froyo, whatever. Now I'm actually, you know, I'm actually starting to take a liking to her a little bit. So, right? So, like, Frogen, just put down the Big Mac and pick up the lawyer, all right? Why make it so hard on yourself? Also, spend the GoFundMe GoFundMe money. Like, that is the reason they gave it to you. Spend it on lawyers. Now, if you've already spent it on DoorDash, I'm sorry you're cooked. Okay, we tried to tell you, but yeah, you can't be doing that. You can't be doing that, even if you put in your thing personal expenses or whatever, right? So this next part, Legal Mindset talks about the message she actually put in her GoFundMe, right? And basically a bunch of people on Reddit, which is a bunch of unemployed idiots, right, are basically saying that she's allowed to use that money on, you know, personal expenses like food and stuff because she wrote their personal expenses, except that's not exactly how it works.
This fundraiser to cover any and all legal fees associated with this complaint and any counterclaims they have against them. So stop there.
Basically, if she has a lawyer and she goes out to lunch after a long day of spending time with that lawyer going over the case, that counts as a cost that this could be used for. But she can't just use it to go out to a party. That's not okay.
So far, as far as we know, she has not paid any legal fees, and she definitely hasn't filed any counterclaims.
All right.
So as to these two, they're wrong. Now, here's the part where we might get into some debate. This next part, the part I underlined. She puts any other bills, and personal expenses. So she's going to argue, oh, I can put food under that.
Food, of course. Why wouldn't it be?
It could be applied if she went out to lunch after being with the lawyer all day, or having to go over the litigation, or having to file motions, whatever it is. Like, that does count towards the cost, so it could be used for that.
Food, bro. Oh my god, this is so good.
I can put makeup under that because I need to look pretty for litigation. I can do all this sort of stuff. That's a personal expense. I can pay for like 22 layers of cover up. But the problem is, and then the rest of the sentence, from lost wages and damages arising from.
That wouldn't be applicable. I don't believe so. I believe you can only get that after a ruling.
This litigation. Well, the question is, when you have arising from, if you're not participating in the litigation, if you are not fighting back, there's no litigation to speak of. Therefore, it's not arising from the litigation. So despite the fact that personal expenses is here and that might be valid, it's in connection with the litigation.
Oh, okay. So that's actually interesting. So she basically has to prove that her 52 Big Macs were actually related to the lawsuit. Well, I mean, I guess you could find a couple.
Name one sandwich from McDonald's or Wendy's or Burger King that ever looked like the picture. They didn't. They never have. They're always like slot buckets.
Arguments for that. Ethan
Maybe
lawsuit
the McRib,
scared me
but
so
that's
much
about it.
I started stress eating, right? So I kind of needed that fuel in order to take on this lawsuit. Also, I was in this massive hide and seek game, you know, this game of tag with Ethan's server, so I needed the energy, the calories to run away. Well, run, you know, that's roll away, maybe something like that, right? Yeah, but honestly, do I actually believe that she's going to, you know, get jailed for fraud or something? Highly unlikely, all right? In all likelihood, if I had to guess, she's just going to respond eventually and then, you know, use the GoFundMe money for lawyer fees. But I don't know at this point. Anything can happen. If you asked me before this that Frogan would be trying to fucking hide from Ethan's server or any of this would be happening, I would have said no. Okay, I would have said that is very unlikely, right? Because that's just so stupid. Like, you immediately, if you're getting sued, you immediately contact a lawyer, you immediately get legal counsel and do the appropriate shit because you have no expertise here. You don't try to do the shit, delete your VODs and shit like that. That's not gonna work, right? So anything can happen at this point, and you know, I just hope the thing that happens brings about the most entertainment and the most amount of videos because I don't care at this point. And also Ethan should win. Yes, of course. That part I care about. Right, so this next part he talks about Ethan's subpoena being granted, right? Because he wanted to uncover the identities of all the Redditors and Discord mods or whatever. And yeah, now he can.
As a reminder, Disloyal Denims literally betrayed the Reddit mods. She stabbed them in the back. She refused to defend them at all. She completely sacrificed them to the corn, and she gave up all of their information. She said, you know what? You can subpoena them. You can get all their information. Once again, this is why these people are going to fold like a sack of cards. They have no loyalty for each other. They don't care for each other at all.
They do not.
All of this, we're one big community. We're one big proletariat. That falls apart. That falls apart immediately when push comes to shove. And Discord and Reddit, I'm telling you right now, and I know this, I have friends that are civil litigators. I've seen this in other cases that we've studied, etc. Discord and Reddit are going to turn over all the data. They do not care. They have no dog in the fight to defend these people. None. Zero. They do not care. They do not want to fight, want to go into a huge legal battle over fighting the disclosure information. They're just going to do it. They're going to roll over and do it.
And listen, don't try to erase them. If you erase them now, it's not going to look good.
You guys remember that? You guys remember what that is? Now, obstruction, it can be obstruction, but spoliation of evidence. That is exactly right. That is exactly right. You guys in the class,
Yep.
paying attention.
Doesn't matter.
Oh, if
Can't
I
hide
had to
it.
guess, I imagine they've
If you
already
delete
done
it,
that, because before even
they'll know.
contacting lawyers, if you're just a layperson, right, that is sort of your knee-jerk reaction to get rid of the evidence and pretend it's not there, right? For their sake, hopefully they didn't actually do that. Obviously Discord and Reddit does not give a single fuck about anything but their bottom line, so they're not going to try to defend these random influencers or Redditors, even if some of the employees might agree with the extreme politics by Hassan and his squad or whatever. But all this theory crafting
They only
that these
agree because they
snarkers
just
are doing
wanna
on
be
Reddit,
watchers.
on Twitter, that
They
yeah,
want a
Ethan
safe
is just
space and,
not going to amount to anything. This
a
lawsuit's
single
not gonna amount
little
to anything.
tank
I mean,
where
I just
everybody
wanna see
has the
their
same
face, you know,
thoughts.
because it is definitely going to go somewhere, and they're probably going to laugh all the way to bankruptcy at this point, because that's just how their Reddit brain goes, you know? Act tough until you get completely cooked. Okay, so this next part, Legal Mindset, has a very interesting image on screen. Obviously completely unrelated. I don't know who that could possibly be, but legend says Jabba the Hutt is quite a popular character from Star Wars.
First of all, guys, listen, winning is not going to trial. Most cases do
Settle.
not proceed to trial. Less than 3% proceed to trial. If you go to trial, you are a loser. In fact, 97% of cases settle rather than going to trial, right? Trial is a huge tax on your finances, mental state, personal life, right? It's not something fun to go to. Like trial and going to court, you're kind of a loser. You really are. And settlement is an art. It really is an art form. And good lawyers, the ones that get paid a lot of money, are really good at settling and really good at negotiating. And these things are all going to come out. So earlier when I said, hey, you guys should settle, and I gave that genuine advice, I said, hey, turn on the mods, give them up, whatever. That's not enough anymore. That's not enough. Ethan knows he's going to get that stuff at this point. You waited too long. Sorry, you waited too long. So now you've got to give more.
Yeah, I think that ship has sailed too. Like Ethan basically said he's not going to settle anymore. And yeah, I feel like he gave them the perfect deal. Sell out absolutely all of your friends. Maybe you get a chance, you get a little chance, Froggy. But yeah, as days go by, your chance gets slimmer and slimmer, and it's just not looking good at this point. But anyways, Asmongold also reacted to Legal Mindset here.
This is where the snarkers just are completely...
Wait, so are you telling me that a bunch of random Redditors with no degree or any sort of knowledge in this topic whatsoever actually don't know what they're talking about? There's no way!
Is that going to your muffin budget? Because it's certainly not going into responding to the claims.
So are we in a universe where if by her raising money for this legal defense, and then she doesn't actually meet it and defend herself, she could actually end up losing 2 court cases at the same time?
Right? Meaning the money is returned to the people that donated.
So the money gets returned to everybody. She loses the lawsuit against Ethan, and she also gets in trouble for fraud. Guys, I don't think I can take this much winning.
Bro, Asmon about to pull a Dan Clancy and start nutting on stream, bro. But honestly, this is crazy, okay? It has been non-stop W's, and this is just how it goes. Like, they started off so completely smug, Danimus was on stream like, oh, Ethan is never gonna sue me. Oh, Ethan has no case on me.
How's the lawsuit going? Nowhere, because Ethan Klein's too much of a sue me. Because he knows he'll lose.
And now completely quiet, all right? Just getting absolutely cooked.
Wow,
And every
she
time
did get
I just
cooked.
play that clip
Oh.
from episode 1 of the series where they are just doing the L dance and dancing in the content cop, dude. How the tables have turned. That is the fate of every single Hassan supporter right there. TNC's personal expenses, Frogan, 50,000 personalized muffins, please. Are you kidding me? Just 50,000? Are you talking about just breakfast? Please. Even the 24/7 stoned out mind of Casey Tron was able to answer with a lawyer. Maybe Frogan just ate 23 cheeseburgers a day to get the same high. Dude, can we just appreciate the amount of characters and all their distinct personalities here? I just find it so funny, dude. Now,
It is, because Casatron is always stoned out of her mind, and she actually went out in the middle of a park, poured iodide salt up and around in a circle, and tried to magic her way out of the lawsuit. It's interesting.
click this video or you become Frogan's personal chef. You're cooked.
Oh, man. Now we get to the most interesting thing.
If you're standing...
All right. Imagine going to war with an enemy that can be defeated with loud noises. This is what this is about. You're about to see some interesting stuff. My cat's in here. He's meowing at me. DSA National Convention 2019 highlights. Enjoy.
Up, could you please sit down and get into a seat so that so there aren't so many people moving around? And then let me consult the people who are counting. So everyone who is not a counter, take a seat. Take a seat. Everyone on the walls, take a seat so that we can count. When there's so many people moving around, it's very difficult to count.
Quick point of privilege. Quick point of personal privilege.
Yes.
I want to be clear. Did you hear what he said? I can't get enough of it. Quick point of personal privilege. Because of white privilege, and they turned it into a point of oh boy. God, this is only going to get worse before it gets better. Whew.
Guys, first of all, James Jackson, Sacramento, he, him. I just want to say, can we...
It's that person again? Oh, man. I'm sorry. It's too early for me to be laughing at this. Oh, okay.
Please keep the chatter to a minimum. I'm one of the people who's very, very prone to sensory overload. There's a...
Why are you at an event with a lot of people? Oh, by the way, they don't clap. They flick their fingers. Just so you know, they flick their fingers.
A lot of whispering and chatter going on. It's making it very difficult for me to focus. Please, can we just... I know we're all fresh and ready to go, but can we please just keep the chatter to a minimum?
This guy comes back 2 more times after this, too.
Affecting my ability to focus. Thank you.
Thank you, comrade. Okay, is there a speaker against name, chapter?
Okay.
Point of personal
Okay.
privilege.
Yes.
Please do not use gendered language to address everyone.
Okay.
I'm sorry. This is too much.
We have a lot of disabled comrades, and a lot of those are invisible disability. First of all, in this room, I see that no one's clapping for me. It could be because I'm not engaging, but it also is because everyone's doing this, and that's really important because those...
Oh, I forgot. They don't snap their fingers. They lift up their hands and they wiggle them around and laugh. It's a wiggle movement. It's throw your hands up in the air like you just don't care.
Those loud bursts of noise, even though this is a noisy space, when we can do something like reducing that, that's really important. So please don't clap, shoot up these. And additionally with the noise issue, like avoid hissing, avoid waving banners, right? If you don't know what to do, show up these, right? I'm sure there's lots of ways that we can communicate to each other without needing...
A normal society cannot function like this. I'm sorry, you just can't.
to rely on something that's going to hurt somebody else. We have quiet rooms that are available. There's a range of options of these, right? On 7, there's one that has video but no sound, if you still want to be able to observe the convention, but the sound is an issue. There's also on Piedmont 8, a completely quiet room. One thing to note there, please don't go into that space with anything that's like an aggressive scent, for instance.
What the hell is an aggressive scent? What does that even mean? It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. It just doesn't mean anything, man. Oh wow.
Instance, right? Because that's going to be difficult for people. Don't talk to cops. Don't talk to MAGA assholes. We're almost there. Just but thank you.
Quick point of privilege once again. Quick point of...
This is his second time. He's up there for the second time, mind you.
Privilege once again. Hi, James Jackson, Sacramento DSA, he, him. I have already asked people to be mindful of the chatter of their comrades who are sensitive to sensory overload, and that goes double for the heckling and the hissing. It is also triggering to my anxiety. Like, the be comradely isn't just for, like, you know, let's keep things civil or whatever. It's so that people aren't gonna get triggered and so that it doesn't affect their performance as a delegate, okay?
After that, we're going to...
He's having a meltdown. And they did just tell him there are quiet rooms. You can go to one of those. But again, they don't want to listen to normal.
go through adopting the rules. So with that, everyone, we're going to start voting. So let's take a deep breath. Great. And so I'm going to welcome Brian to give the credentials report.
Hi, everybody. Brian Laverne, he, him from Houston.
And now we're going to move on to the resolutions and
Very
amendments
brief.
committee.
Very brief point of information. If you are using a microphone, talk into it directly like I am right now, and do not wave your face back and forth because people cannot hear you. That is all.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for the pointers. Yes. Could someone please run a mic to the comrade in the jean jacket, of which there are many?
Jean jackets aren't exclusive to certain groups, apparently.
I simply had a question.
Sorry, could we? Thank you. We are debating the amendment to the committee report, and that amendment is to swap 6 of the the amendment is to take 6 different delegates to recognize 6 different delegates from East Bay from what the committee report says. Great.
Point of clarification here on what we're actually...
Could you get to the mic, please?
So point of clarification in that the chair gave a report. There was a verbal second from the audience on the report of which was given, and then there was a motion for an amendment to that. What are we actually talking about at this point, and then what is the vote going to be?
Thank you.
We need to be very clear about the work that we are trying to do. It is important.
So in voting yes, are we voting to
Yes. Yeah, so voting yes
uphold the delegates?
No. So vote...
It's something to watch when every possible person with a mental issue comes down into a gathering and wants each and every one of their personal problems amended or taken care of. And even when you offer them the ability for it to be taken care of, they still stay in the area where their issues are being triggered. I don't get it.
So voting yes means that you want the substitute 6 delegates to be seated instead of the delegation that is outlined in the credentials committee report.
Thank you.
Does that make sense? No.
Right, so if you agree with what the report recommended, then you should. I'm just asking. I'm trying to understand what. Voting
yes means that you are supporting the challenge to the East Bay
A lot of
delegation.
colored hair in that audience.
Can I reiterate that we, for the sake of our comrades who have sensory issues, refrain from hissing, loudly shouting out your opinion on a vote, or waving.
Again, she said it a few times. They have booths. You don't have to be in this group. You can go there for your sensory whatevers.
Banners and signs that reflect your vote in front of people?
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you. Okay, so now, is there any further debate on the Credentials Committee report?
Point.
Hold on. Point of order. Yep.
Thank you. So,
sorry. What's your name and
my
your?
name is Trey. I use they, them, and he, him pronouns. I'm from Memphis. Thank you for asking. Nice to meet you. Sorry.
Nice to meet you.
I had a question. So, Nick? Jack? What is his name? Or what is their name? Nick J. They were elected as an at-large delegate before they resigned. Is that correct? No. No? Okay, then never mind.
Now, we are going to...
Point of information, could you please let us know how many delegates there are?
Hey. Did I just see him fly his hands up?
How many delegates there are?
We are going to...
Point of information,
He
could you
did.
please let us know how many delegates there are?
Anyone know that?
Hold on 1 second.
Do you know that?
I believe 1,057.
Thank you.
Hi, I am
Holy
NDP from Los Angeles, they, them pronouns. Could I please
The 75 pronouns, soon to probably be 250 billion.
ask the chair to, again...
So me roll.
There was a previous point of privilege about waving around signs, that it is distracting to other comrades. I have autism. This is distracting to me. I would like to ask our fellow delegates, please, to not wave around your signs, especially during voting. Thank you.
Really? Sensory deprivation. Don't wave your signs. It bothers me. Don't talk too loud. It bothers me. I'm in a group where everyone talks loud, but it bothers me. But I'm still here, despite the fact you offer me a room with sensory deprivation. But no, it bothers me. I gotta be here, but that bothers me. This is all we're getting.
Yes. Please do not wave around your signs. Thank you.
Madam Chair, at this point, we're waiting for the vote to be created. When it's ready, I'll let you know, and there will be a URL projected on the screen. And you will be able to put that in either to your phone, your laptop.
What about a QR code? QR codes are the way of the future.
Or you can go use one of the iPads that we have ready.
Thank you, Chair. Nick, he, him, his from Twin Cities. This is on behalf of a delegate who's currently in the remote room. They say that it is very hard to see the screens and cannot get a URL.
Rebecca, are you ready to share what's going on?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that we've hit the Opavert server too hard, and I'm gonna go call Jeff.
Point of information then?
Yes.
Okay, I'm old school, folks, and it's probably some technical problem that we can't solve. So my point of information is really a question. Is it possible that we do this the old-fashioned way and have the yeses on one side of the room and noes on the other? Would that be possible for the chair to do?
I would suggest not doing that because there's going to be a little bit too much motion. We're going to take a hand count
Because it'll trigger somebody. How dare you move?
right now. And hopefully this online voting system will work soon. When a counter has gone around and confirmed, like nodded at you or something.
And the delegate who brought clickers.
You can lower your hand. But only when the person who's like counting has like verbally or confirmed with their body language that they've counted.
And there's... I blinked. That's me confirming. But I couldn't tell. I blinked! I blinked!
Your vote.
A bit
Point
later.
of personal privilege, please.
Yes, what's your personal privilege?
Hi, so I know that this is kind of annoying. I know it's taking a while, but we want this to be done right. We are a democratic organization. We want to do this right. I myself watched some of the counters not count some of the votes. And it may have been a mistake, but maybe we need to do this a different way.
Okay, everyone, by a vote, all the counting has happened. By a vote of 523 to 443, that passes. And so we will, sorry, if we could respect our comrades.
I'm rising to speak against this amendment to the rules, as it would inhibit the democracy that is inherent to our organization. If you look at it, most of the time that has been wasted in this body was not wasted on debate. It was wasted in vote after vote after vote and voting on whether we're going to vote on voting. It is ridiculous, and this resolution would not save us any time.
The only reason you voted on voting was because your system broke down, then the next system broke down, that system didn't work. So we voted and voted and voted. Oh my God.
Raising our placards, when we transition between the votes, can we slow down a little bit? Because it's starting to get confusing for people. Thank you.
Totally. Yep.
It would have to be after the...
Sorry, that's a point of debate. That's not actually...
Well, no, I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
No, that's out of order.
Doesn't
Sorry.
make any sense.
We've ended debate. Okay, so now we're going to vote.
I have a question, a point of order.
So voting yes would be to make it... hold on, could I just get through my sentence, please? Okay, so all those in favor of... How long did it take to approve the... We already said that that's July 2018. Okay, so...
What happens if there's conflicting amendments? So I feel like we don't know is not an acceptable answer, but that's a point of debate. I know.
Yeah, that's a point of debate. Okay, vote all those in favor
Point of inquiry? I had a
yeah,
point of
what's your
inquiry
point of inquiry?
As it stands, this is Daniel Ray from Piedmont, he, him pronouns. As it stands right now, can we make amendments to resolutions and constitutional bylaws stand? Okay, thank you.
Okay, so all those in favor of adopting the convention rules, please raise your placards. All those opposed? That passes. We now have convention rules. Okay, awesome. And now we are going to move into... hold on one second. Okay, so we are a bit behind schedule.
Point of personal privilege. We're behind schedule. Point of personal privilege. Personal point. Debated point. Everything point. This is why you can't have these types of people running your entire show. It doesn't work. It clearly doesn't work, and it's just bad to see. Everything is in contention. Everything's a problem. Everything's debated. You just don't get anywhere. Nowhere. All right, we got one last video. It's for those of you who are in chat and have not responded and are watching, I'm giving you a warning. This is not for the faint of heart. This is a meat cannon video, and it involves pirate software, and it's very, very, very eldritch horror nightmare stuff. So if you can't handle this, don't watch it, and don't blame me later.
Yeah, Chad, so today I was supposedly cursed. I saw this woman breastfeeding her child in a non-optimal way, so being the kind man I am, I showed her how to do it correctly. I told her you should have the child latch at a 30-degree angle. That way, when her milk begins to extrude from the channel, it will flow more rapidly with the babe's suction, as followed.
Yeah. Ooh, every time I see that.
She got irrationally angry when I proved her wrong and put a curse on me. Not that I believe in curses or anything.
The curse is real. Look at your legs.
I can barely feel it. Pain is actually an illusion played on by the mind that...
You fool! Don't you see your arrogance? Need I remind you that's what got us fired from Blizzard?
Yeah, so I worked at Blizzard for 7 years. I barely think about it. It's actually funny, Chad. I'm considered the first second generational hire at the company. Not that I even think about it.
You're not even streaming right now!
Pretty much.
Oh, I knew that. I knew that, and I was just practicing before I go live. It's the most optimal way a streamer stays fresh when...
Here it goes.
You can at least admit that telling a woman how to breastfeed her child was wrong.
I would be willing to concede such an argument if it wasn't something I'm so well versed in. Let me explain. You see, a gypsy's breast is typically in the cup size of B to C, albeit small. It provides ample milk for her freshborn.
Your ego is going to kill us!
Foot in mouth. When you put your own foot in your own mouth.
Admit to yourself, you can be wrong. For us.
For us.
I can be wrong.
But
I just think a mother should breastfeed her child.
Yeah, that's not pretty. That'll give you nightmares. That's nightmare fuel. Oh my god. And just to be clear, I'm pausing at this point because it explains two sayings. The one with the foot in your mouth and making yourself, you know, when you're full of yourself. The canon really outdid themselves. Holy crap. They really know how to put Eldritch horror in their drawings. I mean, my god. Freaky. Very, very freaky. So, yeah. I hope you all sleep well. That was an eye-opening experience. Alright guys, that'll be it for today's stream. I will see you all next time.